Hello, welcome. Nearly didn't have the microphone turned on, nearly. Hey everyone, it is Fox from Model Making Guru, or modelmakingguru.com, or modelmaking.guru, whichever you prefer. Hello, welcome. It is the Warhammer Sundays. Yes, hopefully you can see and hear me okay. I've been doing some tweaking and fiddling, and of course I've probably broken something. So welcome. Apologies last week. Didn't have a show last week, if you're wondering what happened. I was just tied up doing other stuff and I didn't have time to get anything sorted out. So no show last week, but we are back this week. Excuse me. I hope you are all well and didn't miss me too much. What have I got to talk about? We'll talk about many things. If you've not watched one of these before, this is basically normally where I spend my weekend working on my Warhammer army, the unending forces of the holy contrivance. But I haven't done for a while because I've been doing other things. But it's my Principality of Xeon themed army. But we're not working on that today. For the last few weeks, we have been working on me catching up with my Warhammer Conquest stuff. I'm not painting them yet. I'm just getting them built so I can put them in cupboards and cabinets and get them out of the way rather than have packs of envelopes piling up. But we're not doing that today either. Today we're going to do something a bit different. But before I show you what we're going to do, I am going to explain what's going on for those who are new viewers. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, which is somewhere, I don't know where, to make sure you get notified of any new streams or videos that go up. This is where I will sit and do some work on something for 3 hours and hang out with you guys. Pretty much I won't do much work. It's mostly just me hanging out, painting something and not doing much, but hanging out with you guys. We'll just chat for 3 hours and talk nonsense. But yes, welcome. If you are watching this, and you can see the chat here, obviously there is a chat there, but if you want to join in the live chat, we'll be giving some stickers away later. So you need to be in the live chat for that. So if you do want to join in, just click the YouTube icon, which is down here somewhere at the bottom of the video player. Go for the wiggling fingers down there somewhere. If you expand the screen, if you're watching this on Patreon or embedded in somewhere else like Facebook. And now, apparently, I forgot I'd done this, but if you're on LO, if you know what LO is, it's a social network thing that about 5 people use. It's LO, it's called. It's like a Facebook, but streamlined without all the bish that Facebook has. I'm on there as well, so you might be watching it on there. If you've got LO, then do subscribe. It's on there as well, you can watch it. But if you're watching it somewhere like that and you want to join the live chat, hit the YouTube icon, that will take you and you can join in the typey, chatty. You should do, because everybody in the chat is awesome. I love them all. They're all fantastic people. And there you go. My commitments are done now. You can just all send me all the food you need. So yes, everybody in chat's great. We have a great time. It's mostly just people hanging out and chat with me in the background. That's kind of what we do here. So do join in the live chat. If you've not watched one of these before, like I say, I'll probably try and do some work. As always, I'll be clearing my throat because for some reason I always get a froggy throat the moment the camera goes on. As always, we're still doing the stream boss battle. You can see here, if you don't know what that is, there is always a stream boss. Excuse me. I'm going to clear my throat. Hang on. No sound. Oh, hang on. I pressed a button, didn't I? Sorry, guys. Thank you who texted me that. That was Dad. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, I always keep my phone by me, next to me, just in case I forget to do something and Dad can text me and say, "You idiot, you turned the microphone off." Yes, I am a numbnut, Andy. Yes, so, yes, if you don't know what it is, Kevin, Simon Reynolds is the current stream boss. You guys can get him down to 0 health. He's currently on, what's he on? I can't see with these glasses. Something tens of thousands. He starts with 100,000 health. Get him down to 0 by either subscribing to this channel if you're not already subscribed and hit the notification bell. Takes a tiny amount of his health off. You can hit the super chat button in the chat window. There's a little dollar symbol at the bottom of the window. That's the super chat. You can do a little super chat on there, or you can. What else can you do? I forgot my... Oh, you can do a tip through the tip jar. I've forgotten now. It's been 2 weeks. You can do a tip through the tip jar, which is down there. It's tip jar. It's streamlabs.com/model making guru. The more you put through as a super chat or a tip, the higher the amount, the more of his health you take off. And when you... all that money that's raised through the tips and the super chats goes into a big pot. And then if you become the stream boss, if you get his health down to 0, you win the pot. I tell you how much is in the pot. You tell me what you want to order from Games Workshop. You can order it from Forge World, or you can mix and match. If you're in the UK or the EU, you can also place your order. I can also order stuff for you from Goblin Gaming. That means you can do stuff as well as Games Workshop. You can do Conflict 47, you can do Malifaux, you can do Pokemon. There's lots of other things on there. But any of those 3 outlets, if you're in the UK or the EU, you can do Goblin Gaming as well. So you basically get the budget, and you tell me what you want, and I order it for you, and you get it all free of charge. So yeah, so get your stream chats going through. If you want to ask me a question, wow, this is going on a bit. How long have we been going? 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I've not even started yet. I'm all at 6s and 7s. Whenever I take a week off, I kind of go a bit out of whack because I don't know what to do. I don't know. Yes, if you want to get my attention, I've got my iPad just up here with the chat on it. Do put your comments in big fat capital letters so I have a chance of seeing it. Or if you want to, you can, as I said, do a super chat, which is the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat. That will pop up a coloured box and make a little noise and have a little animation that pops up here, and I can't possibly miss that. Now, before we get going, of course, like I said in the chat earlier on, this show is supported by Goblin Gaming. Oh, there we go. Skullfish has put a little soup cat through. Soup cat, he says. Thank you very much, Skullfish. It should pop up any minute. Now. Oh, there's a delay. Oh, now. There's a delay. It should pop up. Never mind. I've broken it, obviously. There should be a thing pop up. There we go. There we go. That's what happens when you do a super chat. That way I can't miss your comment. Yes, it is supported by Goblin Gaming, this show. So if you're in the UK or the EU, they are your one-stop shop for all your tabletop gaming needs. They have 20% off all Games Workshop stock, all Malifaux stock, and all Conflict 47 stock, and massive savings on everything else. You can save yourself massive amounts of money. They also have points you can accrue to put towards things. As you shop more, you get points. And there's many other reasons to go to Goblin Gaming. They're awesome guys. So do go and check them out. I will put an affiliate link in the chat at some point. I have a specific affiliate link. There's one below this video in the description. There is an affiliate link for Goblin Gaming. If you shop through that link and that link only, then I will make a tiny, tiny little bit of income off that order that you place. So it does help me out, help this channel out massively. So do use that link that's in the description below the video. It's just in there. If you just the text down there where it says all the wonderful things, have a look down here somewhere. It's in there. The link is there. Use that link. We change that link in your bookmarks. We've had another thing. What was that? Randy Wahlberg has just subscribed. Thank you, Randy. Welcome to the channel. If you watch, I don't know if you're watching this. You might be. Now I do have coffee. Do have coffee this week. I'm back on coffee again. I'm not on tea this week purely because we ran out of sugar, and tea without sugar is just ass, basically. But I can stomach coffee without sugar, so we're on coffee again today. Now, let's have a look. I don't know what Thy Creator said, but Beyond Hope said, we're not giving stickers away just yet. Yeah, it'll be about 3 hours. So let's have a quick look at chat before we crack on. And I'll let you know what's been going on in the world of moi. Not a lot. I did miss quite a few people because I didn't open up the chat till about 2:30. And I did have some chat problems today. I've got some problems with chat through Streamlabs, so I've missed a big chunk of chat. I'm also not on live chat. God damn it. So let's have a look. We have the first person I have in chat is Dad. Welcome, Dad. Dad's one of your mods, obviously. And Chris at Gross Model says, Arg Minkies. I've missed a lot of chat for some reason. Chris was visiting various monkey refuges and things over the weekend, so I don't think Gemma says he's not going to be here, but I don't know. I've lost track of the chat now because I pressed some buttons. We have Illuminator Art and Crafts. Yeah, I managed to get here from the start, says Illuminator Arts and Crafts. Welcome, Illuminator. Andy McLeish, I see Dad. The Scuba Pez 376, good afternoon. Welcome, the Scuba Pez. There's a few new names on here. Andy McLeish, we have Skullfish. Snowman HFC, Beyond Hope, and Quanoman are all in. Welcome to all three of you. Everybody's saying schoolfish. We have Interzone88. Hi, Fox Dad. Hi, all. G'day, Interzone88. G'day, Brew. More Draka is in. It says, broadsword. Look at the muscularity. with apologies to the Bardic Broadcasts. Go and subscribe to his channel. Aidan Jones is in. Hello. You have to do that. I have to give him a little credit every time we rip him off. Space Tamster ZH is in. Hello, everyone, he says. We have... who else have we got? He's praising us. He wants something, says Beyond Hope. Quantum says, hello. Is hello sort of like I'll do? I see what you did there. Yeah, hello came out about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's supposed to be like an alternative to Facebook with no adverts and just dead streamlined. And I signed up for it when it was invitation only, and somehow got in, and then I forgot about it. So the first post I had on there, the last post, I went in a few weeks ago, and I was like, wow, the last thing I posted was when I was building a 1/72 scale 5-mold Millennium Falcon about 4 years ago. So I've started posting on there again. There's about it seems to be people in California, mostly that kind of type, arty-farty types. Eric Graham says, morning all, long time lurker, first time in chat. Welcome Eric. If you are watching this and you're able to get in the chat, do join in the chat. It's an awesome time. They're all lovely folks in chat. We all have a good time, and you will be up for some stickers later on, but it's always really nice when you come into chat and get to talk to you, because really I'm just going to sit here and talk to you for three hours. David Butcher That Model is in, another one of your mods. Dad, Dave, Butcher That Model, and Chris at Gross Models are your 3 mods at the moment. The mods are super lovely. I don't really need mods on my channel. I will be honest, I don't actually need mods because you guys are all awesome, and I can count the number of times I've had a spoon in my comments, like literally on one hand and on one finger. It rarely ever happens. So, but they are lovely. They'll look after you. They'll keep you sorted. But if you cross them, they'll just snap you in half with their little finger, so don't cross them, but they are lovely. Wayne Haywood, I think I've said Wayne Haywood. Well, Wayne Haywood is in. Let's have a look who else we've got. Speedy Q8 is in. Welcome, Spid. David Sanderson. I've gone deaf because my microphone was off. Everybody's saying sound. Yeah. Who else have we got? George is in. Welcome, George Gabriel. George Gabriel's also one of your mods. Lovely felly, but he will break you in half. If you cross him, obviously. Thy Creator is in. Hello, I'm back, says Thy Creator. Yeah, not doing stickers yet. Let's have a look. What else have we got going on? I have missed a massive amount of chat because I've had some problems. Thy Creator says now, Fox 2019. Coffee but instant, says Spid. Yeah, it's no sugar. Let Mama Fox loose on Amazon and you'll never run out again. Yeah, last time we ordered sugar, we got like a 5 kilogram bag and it lasted for months. It's great. No, I just go around to the corner shop and get sugar. But you know what? I can drink coffee without sugar, so maybe I should stop drinking so much sugar. The Print Guru is in. Welcome, the Print Guru. Gemma Williams is in briefly because she says that Chris at Gross Models is driving and he shouldn't be in chat. Yeah, he got told off. So welcome, Gemma. Well, Gemma will be speaking for Chris today. Tell us all the secrets, Gemma. We want to know. George says, how did I get left out? You weren't left out, dude. I just hadn't got to you by that point. Interzone says, skulls for the skull throne. There you go. Blood for the blood god. Corn for the cornflakes. All that. So Chris, don't be in chat. You're supposed to be doing the driving. But Chris went to see the Minkies yesterday. Little Danny Minkies. So that's it. My chat's all up the wall because I've had problems with it, so I'm missing most of the chat. So I do apologise if you're in and I haven't spotted you, called you out yet. It may just be right in the small fragment of chat that I can see. Now, swig of coffee. That was a good swig. And I shall show you what we're working on today. So today I'm going to be working on not my army, not catching up on the... a wall says, first time watching your streams live. Welcome, our wall. I hope you're a pleasant wall. Welcome. Yes, I'm not working on my army. I haven't done for a while. I'm not catching up on the Warhammer Conquest stuff because yesterday I had a lovely day at my local Warhammer store. In Altrincham, it was their anniversary. At Warhammer stores, each year they have an anniversary of based off their opening date. And they have special giveaways. They give away, unique figures that you can only get in that store on that day. And then the next year they change the figures and you can't get those figures again. So giving away some unique stuff, and they had some games and events. So I went along and I spent the whole day there. Had some great fun. I played my first ever games, and it wasn't actually proper tabletop Warhammer. It was one of them was like a free-for-all battle royale where you place a character, you generate some random stats, and then you all just fight each other. The only thing missing was the invisible walls. But I managed to pull some stats, so I had a really heavy weapon and low movement, so I couldn't really move. I just tried to shoot everything and died, so I didn't do very well. And we played Daka Daka Rally, which was supposed to be like a rally with shooting, but it ended up just being a demolition derby because we didn't quite understand the rules, so we just smashed into everybody, and it was stupid, ridiculous fun. It was great fun. And also met some of you guys. I met Dad. Obviously, Dad came down. I've met Dad before. But Dad came down to say hello. For some reason, didn't bring donuts. I noticed this. Slacking, Dad. Just like him. So Dad came down. And also Steve Mundy, or Cynical Mank Steve, turned up. He couldn't stay long, bless him, but he did pop in, and he brought me some fantastic gifts. I haven't got the things that I received of you guys here to show off on screen, but I did post up in the Boom Hut and pretty much everywhere else lots of nice little photos. I set up a gallery in the Boom Hut with the pictures of the things you guys gave me. Steve gave me some fantastic, beautiful, untouched for 20 years metal Chaos Terminators, but not even built yet, still all separate parts. A mysterious little metal figure with many arms that I don't think it was a tyranny. I don't know what it was. A metal again, though, a metal figure. And this fantastic original old style rhino. You wouldn't recognise it because it doesn't look like modern rhinos. Old style rhino with some custom modded missile launcher bits on it that were from a G.I. Joe model of some toy of some sort. All kind of, I've got to paint that, so that's for me to paint up. And of course Jerry or Neil as you know him. Jerry came all the way down from Edinburgh as well. He came in and he brought me some lovely, edible, delicious Scottish treats. Fantastic stuff. Many edibles, including haggis and red pudding and white pudding, and many cans of proper Bars fizzy pop, which was delightful. Yes, I've not had any of those yet, but they're in the fridge cooling. He also gifted me a Tyrannid Trigon, I think, which is a big shouty thing. It's a big shouty space horse, but without a dude on the back. So it's not really a horse, but it's like a horse without. It's like a wild horse because nobody rides it. It's a Tyrannid. It goes rah, and there's a tongue sticking out, and it shouts a lot. So there you go. I've got that as well to make. So thank you very much for that, Jerry. And I also won myself some swag. I've got a really nice T-shirt that I'm wearing now, and I got a nice hoodie and all bits and bobs. But the whole point was, my plan was to go there and paint. I've got myself a Funko Pop. I got one anyway, and I've got a second spare one. So I thought I'll paint one tomorrow, or yesterday. I thought I'll paint one in the store. It gives me something to do, and I'm not going to be painting something tiny that I can't see. So I can paint something big and sit in store and hang out with everybody. And the other one I can paint on camera and do a proper filming of. So I decided to go and do that. But because I had so much fun playing all the games and doing everything else and eating all the cakes, I didn't get much to paint them. So we're going to paint them today. Yes, we're going to be working on my Funko Pop. Now, you can see there's one coat of Avalanche Sunset down already. I'm just going to move this so it's in the middle. There's one coat of Avalanche Sunset down already. And that's as far as I got. Literally 5 minutes work. So, yeah, it's just, I've not even done the second coat of Avalanche yet as a base colour. So, the reason I'm painting him yellow is not going to be anything that you might think. I've decided to paint him as an angry marine. Now, if you don't know what angry marines are, I'll put a picture up. Hang on. This is the livery, or some livery for an angry marine. There are rude words in here. I'm probably killing my my monetization, but there are rude words. This is angry marines are not official canon, but they're kind of fan creations that everybody knows about. Everybody knows the angry marines. They're basically always angry all the time. Everything's shouting and everything's swearing. And you can see there are some rude words on the armour. So we're going to paint this guy as an angry. I don't know why. I just decided I wanted to get him painted. And if I was going to be in the store doing it, I thought I'll do something straightforward and simple. Although I wasn't actually going to paint the rude words on there. So yes, but I didn't get much done. So what we're going to do is just get that done today. Or get as much as we can done today. And it's big. It's all big and yellow. So yes. So it was been primed in grey cere. Because that's what I had. And he is going to be painted. He's been based in Avalanche Sunset, so I've got to do a second coat of that. Because he's going to be bright yellow. I'm going to be using the Uriel yellow. But you can't just paint Uriel yellow on anything, because it's just, this is Uriel yellow. I'm holding up to the camera here. Let me kill that. Uriel yellow is the colour I'm going to use, the main base colour, but it's horrible. It's horrible. It's so transparent. So you have to base something similar first. And Avalanche Sunset is a fantastic colour. So that's one coat. I've got to do a second coat now, and then we'll crack on with the rest. So it's going to be yellow and red, some bits of black, some metallic, some gold, and that's kind of it really. And then I'm going to, I don't know if I'll do an ink outline with him, but I've got my ink here because I'll need to do some of the inking for the writing on him and the little anti-smiley. So we'll see how far we get today, but that's what we're going to do. Have a quick look at the chat. Dad asks, of course, the most important question of the day, which is, of course, what is on your bench and what is in your belly? So if you've never seen this show before, what's on your bench? What are you working on currently, if anything? And what's in your belly? What are you either going to have for dinner later, or what have you had for your dinner? Don't care about breakfast or supper, it's dinner. Dinner's the main event. We want to know what you're going to have or what you have had for your dinner. On my bench, obviously, is this. I am going to have for my dinner sausage and chips and red and white pudding and gravy, and I'm going to have a bit of haggis. With mine as well. Mama Fox isn't too keen on haggis, but I love haggis, so I'm going to have some of that haggis as well that Jerry brought me. Oh, yes. And gravy, obviously. I know haggis and gravy doesn't really work, but the chips are big fat chips and they kind of go really dry, so you need a bit of gravy to make them nice and moist. Let's have a look. What are we doing? Quickly in chat. Nim Cinderin says, slides in trying to be sneaky, crashes into Fox's horde of boxes. Shoot! I rolled a 1 on my stealth. Yeah, you just don't even try. I have the all-seeing eye. I see all things. Eric Graham has already answers. He says turkey and cheese sandwich and coffee. Ooh, I like that. George Gabriel went to Games Workshop yesterday for his store anniversary in the good old US of A. His store anniversary was the same day as mine, my local one. But he wasn't going to hop on a plane to come all the way to my country. So he went to his and he picked up a whole stash of stuff. And he says, I'm debating what to start from my Games Workshop haul from yesterday. In my belly is a fruit smoothie. Ooh, sounds nice. Yes, George picked up a nice haul of stuff yesterday, so he's spoiled for choice now. He's got all kinds of things he can work on. Let's have a look. Speedy Kuwait says, Jerry rocks. He's the dude. He certainly is. Dad says, me too, haggis, red pudding and things. Cheers, Jerry. Yeah, because Dad was with us, so Jerry split the stash that he was given to me and gave some of it to Dad, which is really nice. So Dad and I have got some red and white pudding and some haggises. I don't think Jerry's watching, but if you are, Jerry, and I've missed you for some reason. It was red and white pudding. There's a haggis, and then there's another one which I think is a haggis, but I'm not sure if it was a flavoured. I can't remember what it was. He said it was something awesome. Remind me what it was. Eric Graham says, in belly. No, Eric Graham says, oh, I see, he split his sentence. Turkey and cheese sandwich and coffee in the belly, and on the bench, an Achilles Ridge Runner or a Matalan Ridge Racer. Yes, awesome. I love that. It's a really nice vehicle. You'll love building that and painting it. Nim says, nothing at the moment, belly undecided. So you've not been up long then, have you, Nim? Because you're not eating yet. You're probably still half asleep. Speedy Kuwait says, red pudding is made from the blood of wild haggis. Excellent. Mordraka is working on, at the moment, Munitorum crates and 30 fuel drums. Ooh, yeah, sealing the gaps on 30 fuel drums. That's fun. And the belly, coffee. Good. Oh, the horror live decapitation on the telly. Yeah. If you've got one of these Funko Pops and you want to separate it out for painting, if you're Kevin, or Simon Reynolds, our Lord and Saviour Kevin, what you do is you take a hacksaw to the arms and legs and you just cut them all into pieces, which is terrifying. But if you're me and not quite as evil, I just wanted to take the head off to get... I don't really need to take the head off, but I thought I'd take the head off to make painting easier to get into the pauldrons and stuff at the top of the backpack. All you need to do, you can't pull it off. Well, you might be able to, but it's basically this stalk here for the neck normally has a big bulb on the end that stops it coming out of the hole. And if you do that, what you might do is it might just not come out, or it might pop out this bottom plate here. That's fine, you can glue it back in. What I did was, I simply took him, dunked him in a thing of boiling water for like 5 minutes. Well, not even that, 2 or 3 minutes, boiling water right from the kettle. Dunk him in, pull him out. This bit here is nice and squishy at that point, so you can pull this out. It will flex and bend. It'll come out, and all I've done is I super glued this plate back in place because it was a bit loose. Just super glued it in, and I carved away the bulb at the end of the neck post just so that I can pop his head on and off. So if you just want to get the head off, dunk him in some boiling freshly from the kettle water, give him a minute or two, and then just pop it apart. You won't break it. There's also a lot of cleanup you need to do all these. When you do get one of these, there is a massive seam line that goes, or a mould line goes all the way around the head and goes around some of the arms and legs. It is a bit of a hassle to clean. It's not like cleaning up a normal seam line. It's a bit fiddly because it's, I get these are vinyl, aren't they? So it's a little more challenging to get it. I've not got rid of it completely because I did kind of lose the will to live after a while. So there are some little mould lines you have to clean up. They're not bad, but they're kind of there. There's one on the lens of the scope on the Stalker rifle that I just can't get to. It's a little slightly recessed. I can't get in there, so I'm not going to try and get rid of that. What's chat doing? People are saying what they're having. Oops. Oh, hello. Wait, something's moved. Something's moved. The chat jumped. I've lost the chat. Beyond Hope says, belly, turkey and beetroot sandwiches. Oh, beetroot. Oh, yes. Bench, half a dozen 3D printed squigs. Where's Kevin when you need him? Dad says, I like that colour scheme, but it's mostly yellow, Dad. It's only a little bit is red. That doesn't seem like you. I love the angry marine launcher, says Interzone88. Yeah, the angry marine launcher is basically a big missile launcher, but in each chamber is not a missile, but an angry marine. It's being fired out. Dave says, squigs! The Scuba Pez 376 says, in my belly is a king-size car very... Is a king-size car very C/W... I don't know what that means. In my belly is a king-size car very C/W. Beef, turkey and lamb plus a massive Sunday dessert. That sounds fantastic. On my bench today is a Warhammer Conquest Space Marine to be painted as Silver Templars. Awesome. I like it. You might need to clarify that. I think maybe it auto-corrected you. In my belly is a king-size car very CW. I don't know what that means. Yeah, so, somebody says a king-size car. Oh, carver. Right. It's a king-size carvery. It separated it out. It's obviously auto-completed it. King-size carvery, beef, turkey and lamb. Right, yeah. In that case, I'm hungry now. You won't be able to hear it on the microphone, but my stomach is doing somersaults because I'm really hungry. Chris at Gross Model says, donut. Chris, you're driving. Stop typing in chat. Dad says, Hachette posted me the Silver Templars handbook, didn't even ask for it and cost me £20. If you are subscribed to the Warhammer Conquest thing, you might not have realised, I didn't realise till that actually happened, there are some, if you've got the premium package, there are some extras you get, like art books and stuff. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them throughout the course of the part work. And what they do is, what they're supposed to do is, the month before, they'll say, hey, here's your invoice for this month. Next month, you're going to receive this book, which will add £14 or £15 or £20 to your bill next month. If you don't want it, let us know and we won't send it to you or charge you. And then if they don't hear from you, they send it to you and charge you. And it goes on to the next month's bill. Although with Dad, what happened was they sent him that, and then I think 2 or 3 days later, charged him for the book and sent the book. So yeah, that kind of got a bit screwed up. But if you are doing the Warhammer Conquest, keep that in mind. When you get your invoice each month, read the letter that comes with it to make sure, because if you don't want those extras, you have to opt out and say, I don't want them. Otherwise, they'll charge you and you'll get them. They're very nice. I've got the art book. It's actually gorgeous, but hey. Richard Gibbs, welcome Richard. Is having Conquest. He's working on Conquest and chicken salad. Spaced Hamster ZH on the bench is a Maschinen Krieger SAFS and an Onager Dune Crawler. Belly spaghetti, probably lamb later. Dave tells Chris not to call Dad a donut. You've got to have gravy. Haggis is too dry, says Spid. Excellent. In that case, gravy is approved. Tom Rickleff's welcome Tom. He says bacon mac and Colby Jack cheese for dinner. Oh yeah. Star Wars Legion Landspeeder and Sazabi BBBBB in the booth. Yes, awesome. A little update on the Sazabi I'm doing, the Master Grade. All the inner frame is now painted. Not painted, it's just got the base colours, base grey. So basic grey, not space grey, it's not an iPhone. All the frame has been painted the basic grey colour. Most of the armour has now been painted the base red colour. It was given a quick blast of Mephiston red. That's been sprayed. Not on all of it, I kind of got 4 things filled up with bits on sticks, and I've still got those left. So I'm in the process of getting all the red armour base coated in red. And all the bits that are going to be like metallic colours, they've been primed in grey cere. And that's ongoing, so I'll be carrying on again. I've just done some this morning before this show started, a lot of spraying outside. And yep, so I had fun. So that is ongoing, so stay tuned. I am filming it, obviously. It is a Patreon exclusive build series, so you'll need to be a patron to watch it. But I'm in the middle of filming episode 3. Quantum Man is finishing off Red 2 from Daddy Squad and got 1 billion million microchips for the stuffing in my face. For those outside the UK, microchips are chips that you do in the microwave, not computer yeah. Aidan Jones, Interzone 88, benches Warcry Ruins and Iron Golems. Cool. Aidan Jones is working on the 1/700 scale Titanic. Belly nothing yet, but will be a Sunday dinner. Yes. I'm thinking about haggis now. David Sanderson bench, a Skitari Africa Corps Rangers. I like that. And Belly Tagliatelle. Almost correct there. Almost correct, says David. He says he's not sure on the spelling. Dad says red cola. Yes, the Dad and I both got a bottle of red cola from Jerry as well. I've not tried that yet. Oh, Jerry's in. Hey, Jerry. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just talking about all the foods. Oh, pictures jumping. I have had some dropped frames. How are we doing for the visuals and the audio? Is it looking good? Are you getting lots of stuttering or problems with the visuals, guys? I've had a small number of drop frames, just a small number. So my broadband might be a bit funky, perhaps. But let me know how it's going. Interzone said he went to the Warhammer store. They were celebrating changing their name from Games Workshop to Warhammer. Yeah, they're slowly, over the years, they've been changing it all so that because they just sell Warhammer, basically. When it was Games Workshop, all the stores sold Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40k, and Lord of the Rings. That's changed now. They just sell Warhammer Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k. They don't sell the Lord of the Rings stuff in the stores, so they're just called Warhammer because they don't sell anything else, basically. It's also Warhammer. It just looks a lot better than Games Workshop, which sounds a bit 1980s, really. Illuminator Arts and Crafts as homemade pizza baguettes, fresh from the oven, and drawing out the concepts for my custom Primark. Nice. Frozen Fox. What? Oh, Frozen Fox. Okay, now, right. Okay, yeah, I don't think we've got any more. It might have been a blip in my broadband, but do let me know. Luckily, I've got you guys in chat, but if it does fall over, I know Dad or somebody will text me and say, everything's fallen over. Can now buy the books from the Hachette webpage, says Mordraka. Cool. They're on sale. Dad says, woohoo, Mephisto and Red. Right, I need to catch up with the chat because I need to get on with some painting. Chris at Gross Models says, I've arrived home, nap time now. No, you have to sit and watch now for 3 hours. I'll talk really quietly. Really, really quietly. He says, tell us about the monkeys, says Candygram for Mongo. Hey, Mongo. Welcome, welcome. Gemma says, he's not having a nap. And Chris says, there were monkeys. I came home with the same number of them as I left with. Dave says, video's okay. Some bloke with a beard rattling on about stuff. Well, you can hear my beard. Cool. Snowman says, I can't go to my Warhammer store just now. Hey, Snowman. Welcome, welcome. I'm sure Chris meant 0 monkeys each way. Oh, that's right. Jerry says, Fox, the other one was a sweet chili haggis. Oh, how did the brekkie go? I haven't touched any of it yet. Because I don't do breakfast. I don't get any desire to eat until about midday. I just don't. If I try and eat anything before midday, I'm just not going to finish it. I just have no appetite at all. But what we're having for tea tonight, Mama Fox doesn't actually like haggis. Oh well, more for me. Bonus. So I love it. So tonight we're having sausage and chips. So sausage and big fat chips. But also we're both having the red and white pudding, some of that. And I'm having some haggis as well with gravy and everything. So yeah, having some of that tonight. But I might try the sweet chili one first because awesome. Anyway, let's do some work. So that's the chat caught up with. Do keep me posted on the video quality. Unfortunately, because I've got my doing things close-up glasses, I can't quite see what's happening on the telly screen on my computer to see any drop frames. So, I've not had any more. Might have been a blip in our broadband. Also, there's somebody outside with the loudest lawnmower in the world, so I do apologise. Right, so let's do some painting. So we need to do another coat of the Avalanche Sunset, just to get the yellow base coat down. I've got my little wet palette here. Give it a good shake and shake and shake and shake. Do the shake and paint and put the painting back. Do the shake and paint and put the paint on things. Painting, 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 and a painting too. Right, so anyway, I'll stop breaking copyright now. So, nice done. I need quite a bit here because when you're doing the base coats, you don't want to be delicate and fluffy with these things. You need to just get a load of paint on the model. So I've got my wet palette. Now if you've not made yourself a wet palette, I know all of you have probably seen all this anyway. And I do appreciate that most of you all watch this show every week. So you probably all know this. But for anybody who doesn't, if you've not made yourself a wet palette, there is a video on my... If you go into my video channel, into my channel where you are now, once you finish watching this, go onto the channel and go into playlists, and there is a how-to playlist. There is in the how-to playlist, there is a guide on how to make a wet palette and why you need one. You do need one. You don't have to have one, but if you're used to painting on a piece of kitchen tile or one of the Citadel palette pads or something like that, you'll find you go through a lot of... I nearly said cheese. I don't know why I nearly said cheese. I don't know why I nearly said you go through a lot of cheese. I don't know. Don't know why that happened. Anyway, you'll go through a lot of paint. Because what you're doing is acrylic paint dries really fast. You put your paint on the piece of tile or the plastic tray or whatever you're using as a palette, and you do a bit of work and it's dried up. It's just dried up dead quickly. If you use a wet palette, it's just some sponge or kitchen tissue. It's a piece of parchment paper. It has to be parchment paper, not greaseproof paper. Look for parchment paper on the top, and that's dampened. It's soaked in water, and all water's drained off. It's just damp. It's not. There's not water coming out anywhere. It's just damp. And what happens is the moisture in the tissue very, very slowly can get through the parchment paper. Greaseproof paper it can't get through, and it just keeps the paint hydrated. So I could put the lid on this and put it to one side and come back in a week and it would still be workable. Whereas if you put this on the kitchen towel, it will just dry out in a minute. So I do recommend you make yourself. It will cost you literally pennies. This tub is one of the Games Workshop packs of tufts, the little sticky-on grass tufts. It's just a perfect size for being a wet palette. Got some big fat kitchen roll and a piece of parchment paper. If you're looking to get some parchment paper, I use this Mason Cash. I use 10 centimeters by 25 centimeters because it's perfect size for that. But this doesn't exist anymore. So if you're in the UK and you're on Amazon, the only one I could find that was that size is the Lakeland Mini Baking Parchment Roll. It's on my, if you go to, in the description below this video, I've got a link to my Amazon store. It's in there. So use that link. Again, I'll make a little bit of income off that. A little bit of affiliate link there, but yeah, it's on in my Amazon store. But that's the only one I can find. You can get the big size rolls if you're using a bigger wet palette. But if you're using the Warhammer, the Games Workshop Tufts pack box, 10 centimeters is exactly that wide. It's perfect. You just cut it to length. You don't have to trim it and fart about with it. So I do recommend that. So yes, parchment paper. So it just keeps it damp. Now, depending on what you want to do, I find to get a nice smooth base coat. What I tend to do is not really add much water at all to what's already in the wet palette. So what I'll do is, if I want a nice smooth base coat, this is whatever colour you're doing. Not added any water to it. Got myself a nice flat chisely base brush because it's quite a big model. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush. I'm going to go from the edge of the paint. I'm going to work from the edge in. I don't want to just go and get a big dot of paint from the middle of the palette because that'll just make a mess. I want to use minimal paint, so I'm going to go from the edge, get some on the brush, load it up quite nicely, but then I'm going to work it like this just to reduce the amount of paint on the paint. I don't want the paintbrush dripping with paint. I just want it a smooth, small amount. And all I'm going to do is quite simply start working this over the surface. Now this is the second coat. The first coat was a bit streaky. Second coat will fill in all those gaps. And I'm not looking to put a thick coat on here. I just want to get it nice. I'm more interested in getting it smooth and not full of brush marks. And that's where it's important not to have a lot of paint on the brush. It's almost nothing. It's not quite dry brushing, but it's a small amount of paint. And that's why I'm not going right from the middle of the paint blob. I'm going from the edge and just working the paint into the bristles and just like squeegeeing a lot of it off because I don't want to be drowning the piece. It's not a problem if you do. It just means that if you put a lot of paint on there, then you're prone to getting, lumps and bumps and brush marks. And what I find the trick is to get the smooth coat with a brush. It's not going to be airbrush smooth. Don't kid yourself. The trick is with acrylics, because they dry fast, you can't work them for too long and they go all bitty and start ripping up from the surface. You want to spread it. Think of it like spreading butter. You want to get it on the surface and then as gently as you can just smush it around, spread it out a bit. And it's a bit like when you do sanding. When you do sanding and you sand a bit and in one direction and you get little sanding marks, but then you go over it in a different direction and it kind of covers those sanding marks up. That's what you're doing here. You're going like this and you're going like that. You want to stick to roughly the similar direction, but you're covering over bits. Now, you're not working on it for a long time because you don't want to ruck up and pull up paint that's already had a little time to cure. So you're just gently going over. I've not put any real pressure on here at all. I'm just being very gentle and working with not minimal paint. Like I say, we're not dry brushing. But I don't want a lot of paint on there, and that's why it's important to just get a lot of paint off in the wet palette. Now you could like I say, if you know, I haven't added any water to this. I've not thinned it at all or diluted it. I didn't need to. It wouldn't do any harm if you added loads of extra water to that. It just means the paint will be more transparent and you'd have to do even more coats. But just doing a standard base colour like this, you'd probably get away with 2 coats. Should be enough. Now I'm going to be covering this in Uriel yellow, so it doesn't matter if once I've got this on, it doesn't have to be 100% opaque, covering up every little streak and mark. I'm not too fussed because the Uriel yellow will go over it as well anyway. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put this back on here because I'm finding it hard to find anywhere to hold. I don't know why I took it off, to be honest, for this bit. Let me plonk his head back on. Get back on that, there you go. Right, that's a bit easier for me, just for the moment. Are we on? No, not yet. Hang on. There we go. Just gives me something to hold on to while I'm painting him. So yeah, it's a bit like spreading butter. So you could thin it if you wanted, if you added loads of water, but you just find it's more work for yourself. You're adding work because you're thinning it down. You don't want it too watery. You want it to stick to the surface and not have to do like 1,000 coats, because at the end of the day you want to do the fewest coats of paint you can. That's the trick. And by putting it on and spreading it, you can see that blob of paint I put on here with the first touch. I'm just spreading it out now around the helmet. That's the trick. So how is everyone anyway? How are you all doing? I had a lovely day yesterday at the Altrincham store. It was fantastic. There were some very nice cakes. They had a cake making competition. 3 people made cakes and brought them in. One of them looked like an orc mech of some sort. I think it was a stomper. It was all different colours and greys, and it was like kind of cool. Somebody made a cake that looks like a squig. And there was one that was a nice sort of standard cake with a corn symbol on the front. As in the god, not the band or the cereal. And they were all delicious, but I have to say my favourite was the squig cake, because who knew squigs tasted so good? It was kind of, again, I've put pictures up in the boom hut, but a little gallery, but it was like it was kind of an orangey colour, which looked a bit like when you mix, say, chicken soup and tomato soup together. So I was kind of getting the savoury vibe off it, and I kind of thinking to myself, it might be a meat cake. There appears to be a hurricane blowing outside. And I thought, this looks like it's going to taste savoury. And the amazing thing was, it kind of did. It tasted kind of savoury. I don't know what it was. It had some sweetness to it, but the sponge was very light, and it was nice and squidgy, and it was very, very delicate. And it was most delicious, but it tasted ever so slightly savoury, and I fully enjoyed it. But that one didn't win. It was the big orc stomper that won, which was very nice as well. It tasted very nice. But it was just like, it had arms and legs and everything. It was very complex and well done, so it kind of justifiably won. One other thing as well, while I'm doing this brushing, most of you will know this, but what I'm not doing is going backwards and forwards like this, because all you do is you put the paint down and then you drag it back. So try and stick to, although you can go over yourself very gently, where the paint has had a few seconds to sort of flash off, don't go back and forth like that, because all you're doing is putting the paint down and pulling it back up again. That's where you get into problems. So just make sure you're going in one direction. So there you go now. So hopefully you can see. I don't know if it will come out on camera, but you can see now 2 coats of the Avalanche Sunset on the head compared to 1 coat on the body. This is pallid and stripy and scratchy, and it's got some gaps. This now is a solid, pretty much solid coat of Avalanche Sunset. It's not 100% spot on. If I was leaving it as Avalanche Sunset, I'd probably do a 3rd coat just to make sure. But I'm going to be putting other stuff on top of this. I'm quite happy to leave that as just 2 coats. Now I've got to do the underneath, so I'm going to very carefully see if I can get the head off without messing up the paint job. Oh, I've got missed a bit there. So to somehow get the head off without messing up the paint, I shall put him over to the side, and I'll paint the underneath bit in a bit. Now I'm going to add a tiny amount of water to the paint here. It's very kind of hard to explain this, but just the tiniest molecule of water, just because I'm running low on the paint that's available on the wet palette now, and I want to not have to reload it just yet. This does mean that the paint is now thinned slightly, but I've got lots of little nooks and crannies here, so it's not a big problem. if you want to add a little tiny bit of water, like a real tiny amount, then it can work quite well on complicated areas like this. I'm just going to move the wet palette out of the way for you. It can work well on fussy, lots of surface areas like this. If it's a big flat open area like the head, then you don't need to thin the water at all. But on here, you can do. So I'll just go through and do this. So yes, I had many cake yesterday. Much cake was ingested, and it was all damn fine cake. I'm trying to get into a little. I'm going to have to get a different brush in a moment, because this big brush is good, but there are little sort of recessed bits that I can't quite get to. And you can see I'm not being delicate here. I'm not being all fussy with the small brush and carefully putting this on. It's a base coat. All I want to do is get. Is not knock the camera. All I want to do is get a nice smooth coat of Avalanche Sunset. I don't need to be all prissy. I'm not doing fine detailing at this point. There's no point being delicate. I am being delicate, but I'm not being super careful and slow. You know what Ted would say right now. But yeah, I'm just going carefully, but not too carefully. I'm not spending hours and hours getting the base coat down. You can be a bit speedy. Now, I am starting to run out of paint on the wet palette here, but I don't want to dilute it anymore or thin it anymore. Just to clarify, by the way, again, I know most people know this, but if anybody watching this for the first time, if you don't know the difference between thinning paint and diluting paint, and how you know which one you're doing, if you have a palette, I'm just going to put some more paint on the palette. Spacelam says, Ted would say, pap it on, strap it on. I can't remember. I don't ever want to hear Ted say strap it on. That would just terrify me, I think. Let me just get some paint on the wet palette. Yeah, you can see the paint is now quite... There's not much left on there. That's mostly just coloured the wet palette. What I don't want to do... I did add that tiny amount of water a minute ago to make it go a bit further, but I don't want to add more, because if I do now, if I add any more water, and it really was like literally a tiny drop of water that I added. If I add any more, where's my Avalanche Sunset? If I add any more, it's just going to be a wash, and that's what I don't want. Because that's when, you know, if you put a layer of paint on a model over an edge, and you can see the edge through the paint, then that's too thin. There we go. That should be more than enough. So yes, thinning and diluting. There's two things you can do with the paint. The thing you need to keep in mind is, what is paint? Paint is a pigment in suspension. Now, the suspension can be made of many different things. I don't think I need to add any water at this stage. With acrylics, it's basically some acrylic binders. Sometimes there's acrylic resins in there. There's lots of basically acrylic binding solution into which pigment is suspended. Okay. It's not, even if it's a water-based acrylic, it's not just water and pigment. It's lots of acrylic compounds and chemicals with pigment and, you know, probably some water. If you add water to an acrylic paint, you are changing the chemical structure. The water is a solvent. It will break down the binders in the acrylic solution. The binders, the chemicals in the acrylic solution are the things that give it its properties, the way they make it flow the way it does, they make it dry the way it does, they give it a certain surface temperature. A tiny molecule of water here, just the tiniest amount, real like molecule of water. Get most of it off on the tissue, just because I want to get into these little fiddly bits. Yeah, it will break down the acrylic binders. The binders, the acrylics, the binders give it its surface tension, give it its self-leveling properties and everything else. If you add water, you're thinning it. You're breaking down the way that chemical works, and it will change the way it works. It won't work the same way. But there are times when you want to do that. Alternatively, One other thing you can do is dilute a paint. Now, if you dilute a paint, what you're doing is you're taking the acrylic substrate, the liquid that the pigment is in, and you're adding basically more of it. You're not adding water, you're adding more acrylic liquid, you're adding more acrylic binders, you're changing the ratio of pigment to the acrylic paint. So when you do something like with Games Workshop stuff, if you do a shade, blue tack sticking up above his tail there, if you use Lahmian medium is basically just acrylic paint without the colour in it, without the pigment. So when you use Lahmian medium, I'm not wanted. Where's my little spatula? Got blue tack going up above his foot there. When you use acrylic medium like Lahmian medium or Vallejo do a glaze medium, you're adding liquid to the paint. So you're adding more acrylic with no colour, but you're not changing the chemical makeup. You're simply adding more of the colourless acrylic paint, and you're therefore changing the ratio of paint to binders. So think of it this way. Imagine, just to simplify it a lot, imagine acrylic paint is magic solution A plus colour pigment. If you dilute it, you just add more of magic solution A, which is the acrylics. And that means it still behaves the same way. The acrylic binders still do the same job. It still self-levels the same. It still dries the same way. It still behaves the same when you paint with it. To thin it, you would take your magic solution with pigments and you would add water to it, which breaks it all apart and makes it behave differently. So if you're making a glaze, for example, you probably want it to behave the same way as it did before. So you dilute it. If you want it to self-level and have the same surface tension, you would dilute it. If you use water, what you tend to find is you get more, it changes the surface tension and you get more patchiness. It looks grainy. You get more little tide marks and it looks like granules, and you can get a gritty finish because it's physically changing the way the paint actually behaves. So just a handy tip. If you're wanting to just make the paint flow a bit better, because you want to get into certain surfaces, if you want to make it flow a little easier but still look the same and still behave the same way, dilute it, don't thin it. Add a little bit of medium, which is basically just paint without colour. So that's there. No, I am adding, despite everything I said earlier on, I'm adding tiny amounts of water on my brush every now and then when I reload it, and that's purely because this is a fussy, complex surface, and it can cope with the paint being a little more thinned, because I'm thinning it with water, I'm not diluting it. So keep that in mind as well. I didn't add water to the paint when I was painting the head because it's big flat surfaces and I want that smooth finish. I can do it here because I need it to get into all the little recesses, but there's not any big flat surfaces, so brush marks will be more easily hidden. It kind of sounds weird when I explain it because I'm contradicting myself all the time, but it's one of these things that if you try and think about it, you'll never figure it out. But if you just paint and paint and paint, the more you do it, the more you get a natural instinctive feeling. The difficulty with a lot of teaching people how to paint is a lot of it is kind of instinctive, and you don't necessarily, you can't, it's like if I said to you, tell me the step-by-step process of tying a lace, you'd fall over yourself because you'd trip up, because it's actually really hard to explain how to tie a lace. You can do it without thinking about it, but if you had to tell someone, you'd be like, how do I, it's not that easy. So yeah, so I'm going to get a smaller brush now. Just going to get some little recesses. So let me just get a smaller, I don't need to use a nice brush because this is just base coating, so I can use some of my old scruffy base brushes. I shall not use any water, I don't think. I think I'll need any. So, and it does seem like sometimes I'll say, don't dilute your paint, don't thin your paint when you're painting this bit, and then I'll dilute it a bit later. And it does seem counterintuitive, but you'll kind of get a feel for it. There are times when you want to, and there's times when you don't. And it's impossible for me to say this is when you do and don't. It's more a case of you'll figure it out as you go along. Kind of hard to explain. No, I need to get the brush up there, but can I get it up there? Yes. There we go. There's some now. When Simon Reynolds did his, he actually hacked all the arms and things off, which is a really good idea because some of this chest area is really hard to get to. But by the same token, I don't want to take a saw to it. I haven't got one for a start. There's some black in there that I need. Well, in a armor area, I need to paint black, but I don't know how I'm going to get a brush in there. I may have to do the black and then come back and redo all the Avalanche Sunset, but we'll worry about that later. So I'll just get these bits done, then I'll stop for a second, have a swig of coffee, and have a look at chat. There is, of course, the golden rule of any miniature painting. If you're having to really struggle and move this thing around to see the bit I'm trying to paint, you can probably get away with not painting it. Because if I can't see it without really looking up at a funny angle, nobody else is going to see it. It's allowed. You're allowed to do that sometimes. Right, so that is there. I've got anything on the backpack? Backpack, you say? Do. Where's the middle of the screen? I keep moving, don't I? How are we doing for picture quality wise, by the way, folks? Is picture looking good? Audio looking good? I have no idea. I mean, it's only been, like an hour, and I'm asking that now. Hello. I'm special, what can I say? Now, some of these little recesses I can't quite get to will probably actually be covered up by the shades and things later on, so it's not the end of the world. See this bit here, these like vents or thruster bells on the back of the backpack, it's a big flat open area. So I'm not adding extra water to the brush here because, again, I'm treating it like the helmet. I want to be able to spread the paint out flat and hide any brush marks. Whereas little tiny areas, I don't have to worry about that quite so much. So, I can afford to add a little water to it just to thin it ever so slightly. Okay, so that's that base coat done. Happy days! I just need to do underneath this helmet. Then I shall have a quick look at the chattings. See what you're doing in the chatting. Oh, missed a bit. Hang on. There's a big bit there I've missed. Which I can only see when I face it from that angle. There you go. You little devil. There you go. Yeah. Right, so that is that. I shall put that there. I shall do under his bonds. You can't really see most of this, but I know it's done. So we've got that there. Not adding any water to this, because again, big flat area. I want to smush the paint flat. And just get it as a nice even coat. You're kind of playing with the opacity of the paint, really. And that's the difficulty. It is really hard to explain in words, because it's kind of an instinctive thing a lot of the time. You just kind of get a feel for it. It's almost like you can also judge by the texture of the paint. When you drag the brush along, you can feel if it's too thick or too thin. You can feel a difference. I think that's pretty much everything on there. Cool. I shall put him upside down over there to dry slowly. And I shall have a quick look at chat, because I've ignored you while I've been painting. It's the downside of me, you see, if they're doing these shows. Either I do some work and ignore you. Yeah, but I have to keep talking about something, because otherwise why are you watching? Or I'll talk to you guys in chat, but then I get bugger all done. If you're wondering, by the way, what is on, this isn't his base. I've just got an old pot of the Master's brush cleaner and blue tacked into it, because I was going to use like a little, say, 60mm Games Workshop base, but I haven't got one. I was going to grab one off Chris at the store yesterday, but I forgot to ask him. So I'll probably grab a small... I tried him on... I've got a couple of Imperial Knight size bases, but there's just too much empty space. It's like that big. So I thought I'll put him on this for now while I paint him, and then I'll get a base sorted out. So a big swig of coffee. Jerry says, Fox, I've now done the plan for the bumper car. I'm picking up the base model tomorrow. Yes. I thought Warhammer stores were closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. Just so you know. I think pretty much they all close on a Monday and Tuesday. Yes, Jerry wants to do a bumper car, and he was looking at some of the... Jerry was really taken by the Orc vehicles, and the Orc vehicles are brilliant. And after playing Daka Rally yesterday, which was in no way a rally, and pretty much in no way really involved any Daka, because it was really just smash into everybody. And it was great, because like you'd have two cars, two vehicles. I was in a flyer, and everybody else was in a car. So imagine this is you, and this is your opponent, and he's in front of you, and you think, right, you've got a roll to move, and you can either move and ram. So you can either ram and shoot, or move and ram, or move and shoot. So you roll to move, and you might be like, right, I'm going to move 10 inches, which might be there, but I'm going to ram him. So you roll to ram, and when you ram someone, what you do is you both roll a die, a single die, and whoever gets the highest number succeeds. So basically, I could say you're this car, I'm this car, and I'll say right. And this isn't the way to play it, because we got the instructions wrong. Right, I'm going to ram you. So I'm going to roll, and I roll a die, and I get 3. Let's say this is Jerry, and he rolls a die, and he gets 5, and I'm like, bugger. So my ram failed. So what happens is, technically, in the mind of the game, because I got the smaller number, I ram Jerry, and Jerry just stays there, and I careen off into the distance. I then have to roll to find out how far off because basically what it is basically saying, I ram you, but then I ping off into the distance. So I have to roll to say how far I ping off, and I also have to roll which direction. And it can be that I can ram this car and then actually end up going backwards further than I was. So I can start here, ram him, and end up over here. And the number of times you'd ram someone and you'd end up flying off the table because it failed miserably, and you'd actually be on a different table. It's just great fun, and that was all it was for like 3 hours. We played it for like 2.5, 3 hours, and it was nonsense. If this was the track, we started off here. After about an hour and a half, one of us was here. The rest was still all kind of gathered around here, smashing into each other, and slowly a few of us worked our way around. I never got past about here, and somehow me and Jerry ended up just like constantly rubber banding into each other as we went around the track. It was just crazy nonsense. It was hilarious. Let's have a look. David Butch, that model says that the Portsmouth Warhammer is open 7 days. Don't forget though, Jerry, you can order it from Goblin Gaming, 20% off. All Games Workshop, 20% off. My link for Goblin Gaming is in the description below this video. I can't post it in chat, unfortunately. I can actually. Hang on. Let me get the magic keyboard out. I've got to do some funkiness. Let me do this, and do this, and do this, and that, and that. 1 second. I shall copy that. So, yes, if you want to save up 20% off whatever you're buying for Games Workshop stuff, there. That's the link for you. That link is my affiliate link. You'll save massively, and you'll also help me because I'll make a tiny little bit of income off that link. So use that link. Replace that link in your favourites. But yeah, it was great fun. Just like driving like loons. I was the only one shooting for most of it. I was like, because what I did was I had my flyer, and we got a sheet of like, here's all the things. You've got 5 points to spend on all different things, buffs and all kinds of stuff. But I read the sheet wrong. So I basically put all my 5 points into having like double guns, a big massive gun, and loads of rockets and everything. And then after I spent the 5 points, realised afterwards, there was other stuff I could have spent the 5 points on, like, buffs and damage buffs and spikes. And so I just put all the money in guns and then hardly used them. Well spent. Right, so let's have a look at the chat. Gross Model says moist. Butcher That Model says, I thought it was Mama Fox with the lawnmower. As you're not safe with guarding tool, how is the foot? My foot is fine now. I think the nurse was a bit over-exaggerating when she said I'd broken my toe. I don't think I did. Jerry is munching away on some smoked mussels I picked up. Got some smoked turkey pastrami up next. Oh. Candy Man from Mongo thinks the tiny parchment roll is just adorable. I've got to tell you, it's this little roll of parchment. I've had this for about 3 years, and I'm changing the parchment paper all the time on my wet palette, and I've still got that much left. So one little roll, this one was 10 centimetres by 25 metres. 25 metres. The one I've got now, the replacement for when that runs out, is the same, 10 centimetres by 25. This is going to last me like another 5 years. So you don't need to buy a lot. Even if you're changing your wet palette like every time you use your wet palette, you're going to be fine. It's going to last you forever. Snowbound says, does anyone use baby wipes when painting? Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I only use them for when I'm cleaning out the airbrush. They're just a kind of nice, quick way to clean your airbrush off. If you spill paint down the side of your airbrush, get a baby wipe and wipe it. It's alcohol-based, so they're not too strong. But instead of like using, say, tissue or kitchen roll to clean out your airbrush cup, you can get little bits of... I mean, don't ever use toilet roll because that stuff just falls into little particles in your airbrush. Even kitchen roll can kind of leave little bits behind. Baby wipe just in the paint cup, there you go, and get it into the bit where the paint cup screws into. It's a good way to clean it because it doesn't leave any residue behind. It doesn't leave little bits of fluff and things. So yeah, baby wipes are quite good, just as a very quick way of cleaning out your airbrush cup or your tubes before you then go ahead and do a proper clean. It's just a really quick way of just wiping up some, you know, spillage if it's come down the side of the cup or into the airbrush and stuff like that. So yeah, I do that. Got myself a wet palette off Amazon, and the thing that came is bigger than the flipping front door, says Quano Man. Yeah, just make your own, dude. Like I say, this literally was the Tufts, a pack of Tufts from Games Workshop. So I had to buy the pack of Tufts, which is 350 quid, obviously. But once I'd used all the Tufts up, I just did that. And the advantage of the ones you buy there, while they do come with a sponge rather than just using tissue, and that can last you a long time, and it can hold water a bit better than just tissue. Let's have a look. Wilton parchment paper from Hobbycraft, says David Sanderson. Oh, cool. If you can get it from Hobbycraft, awesome. You do have to be careful though, because sometimes you get parchment paper, but it'll say grease proof. And that normally means it's got a silicone coating on it. And if it's got that, it's no use to you at all, because you don't want the parchment to be water... you want it to be hydrophobic. If it rejects water, then that's not. You want the water to soak through the parchment paper, but slowly. So parchment is kind of semi-permeable. The moisture can kind of work its way through, and that's the trick. Your wet palette is not. It's not really a wet palette. It's a moist palette. It needs to be damp. Not. You don't want water. You don't want to move it around and see water sloshing about anywhere. I'm not going to do it now, but if I turn that upside down, nothing would come out. There's no sloshing going on. There's no water. It's just damp. You just want moist. Moist. Fox was watching a YouTube video on making the best wet palette. Apparently the secret is to use cellulose sponge under the parchment paper. Yeah, natural sponge or cellulose sponge. Any kind of sponges are really good. If you're using a sponge though, you've got to be careful. You've got to occasionally clean off the sponge, because over time you can get organism can grow on your sponge, little mouldy things and little sort of single cell goodness. You probably get, you could have water bears and you could have moss piglets on your wet palette. Oh, microscope. Yeah, so you do have to clean the sponge off occasionally and give it a bit of you clean it in vinegar or something, or just clean it with something that will get rid of any bacteria and stuff. Just because it will slowly, something fell over, it will slowly start to develop organisms and go a bit stinky and go a bit mouldy. So do keep it clean. I used not kitchen roll, but big fat tissue kitchen roll type stuff, like the big roll of Blitz, just because you get rid of it after a few days. If someone made an Age of Sigmar version of the Conquest thing, says Aidan Jones, I would definitely subscribe. However, some 40k stuff looks cool. There are rumours that they will actually do an Age of Sigmar one. It would kind of make sense. Quano Man says peachy. I don't know why. Duncan? Nimson Durin says, I went to my local Gumpler Group's meeting after a couple of months of not being able to go. Stupid work. Oh well, they had a raffle and I won the real grade crossbow bonus. Good girl. Yeah, there are rumours that the Hashap might be looking at doing an Age of Sigmar version of Conquest, because there is a market for that. Admittedly not as big, but there is a market for it. Aidan Jones says, butcher that model. If they do, it'll probably take the Soul Wars set. Yeah, in the same way that a lot of the Conquest stuff is the Dark Imperium. Dark Imperium? No, Dark Vengeance, whatever it was called. Dark Imperium. A lot of it is from the Dark Imperium set with some other bits and bobs thrown in. They'll probably do the same. They'll use the Soul Wars set and have some other bits. So it will be golden shiny dudes and skeleton dudes probably. Which is a shame though, because I think there's a lot of them more interesting enemies than just the skeleton dudes. There's loads of different enemies in Sigmar. Hello everyone, says Eon's Car. I see a Funko Pop being painted. Yes, we are painting an angry marine. Just for anyone who wasn't here earlier, I will show you what an angry marine is. Prepare for rude words. That is the livery of an angry marine. Now, I have named this chap. I know. Can you hear me, by the way? Can you still hear me here? I assume you can. I'll come back. So, could you hear me when that picture was up? I don't know, by the way. I duplicated some things, so I hope you could hear me. Do tell me. Although this is... I didn't plan on painting him like a captain. I have named him... what did I call him? Captain Encephalus. Because when we were playing yesterday, the Battle Royale, I hid this chap behind, because they let me play with this guy. I was playing all the normal Warhammer dudes. I played with this guy and had to roll some stats for him, but he was hiding behind a house. But the house was like half the size of his head. His head was twice as big as the house. So I named him Captain Encephalus, because he just got a massive head. And he was like this, all these little tiny figures on this big 6x4 foot table, and there's my enormous dude in the middle with a head the size of an entire building. I'm like, yeah, I've got a disadvantage here. My dude can't take cover behind a building because he's big. His head is bigger than the building. So Captain Encephalus, he's going to be an angry marine. We haven't got very far though. Squidlip6661 says, no more voice. Hello, voice. Okay, interesting. Quick catch up on the chat. Eric Graham, Fox curious on the Ridge Run. I noticed you primed it as one piece. Any issues on getting full coverage over the entire model? Absolutely none whatsoever. It might be easier if you do it without the wheels on. Just because you can get to the top of the wheel. The only difficulty was I left the figures off because I want to be able to get into the back of the flatbed. And I wanted to paint the figures and it's hard to tell if they're in place. So I left the figures off. And that's all I needed to do was leave the figures off. Did I leave anything else off? No, I think everything else was fine. The only thing I couldn't get access to or struggled a bit with was the very tops of the wheels inside, because you can't quite get to them, and the engine block and some of the suspension behind the front wheels. So you might be worth just leaving the wheels off so you can get to those bits underneath if you want to do. I had to kind of do a bit of a cobble paint job on those. I couldn't quite get to them, but they look fine because I was weathering the crap out of it. But yeah, you might want to leave the wheels off just to make life easy, because you would glue them on at the end. Muha is in. Welcome, Muha. Welcome. The orange looks a little yellow. It could be because the yellow looks a little yellow. So what's we got? Jamie Bones has got to go now after watching Ashes cricket on the TV. Thanks for coming in. I know you've probably gone now, but thanks for coming, Jamie. Appreciate it as always. Jerry says, yes, much fun was had. Fox won the award for the most pointless amount of failed work shoot. I put all the weapons in the world on my flyer. I put, like I said, double guns, a big gun, and rockets. And I did all the shooting in the world, and I had all the guns in the world, and everything missed, and I didn't hit anybody, and everything was rubbish. And it was just all bumper cars, basically. It was really good fun. Mar Draka says, squig birthing grounds in the wet pallets with long-term sponge use. Yes, baby squigs. Jordan Capuano is in. Good afternoon. I've missed an hour, unfortunately. Anything juicy going on? We are painting an angry marine, or we're just starting to paint an angry marine. I'm painting my Funko Pop that I didn't get done yesterday, so I'm catching up with him. So we're doing an angry marine. So I've done now 2 coats of Avaland Sun Settings. That's fine for the base coat. That just covers up the primer nicely. So what we need to do now is go in and do my least favourite colour in the whole goddamn world. I hate... I'm going to paint the body first so that I can do the body, let it dry and put the head on, and then... Yeah, do the body first, Fox. Oh, no, actually, no, not... I'm talking rubbish. Right, we've done 2 base coats of the Avalanche Sunset. If you notice here, I've got all these old Games Workshop work things because it's got little paint holes here. And what I do is I put the colours in order that I'm going to paint. So 2 coats of Avalanche Sunset. Then we're going to do a coat of Agrax Earthshade. And then what we'll actually do is, once that's dried, we'll go in with a dry brush of Avalanche Sunset again to bring it back. You've seen me do this post-shading effect before. So base colour, shade to darken it. Base colour dry brushed again to bring back a highlight. Then we go in with a dry brush of Uriel Yellow I can't say it, Uriel Yellow. I hate that name. I hate the paint. It's horrible. Do a dry brush of that to bring up some real highlights, and once that's dried, we're going with a highlight of Phalanx Yellow in smaller areas to bring some real highlights. And then later on, we've got Dawn Yellow, and this is for paint chips. So later on. So basically, it's Avaland, Agrax, and Uriel Yellow, and then a little bit of Phalanx Yellow. So if you've seen me do it before, I do have a video again. If you go to my channel once you've watched this, on my playlists, click on playlists in the menu at the top. There's a playlist for how-to videos. There's also one about how to do pre-shading without an airbrush, which is what I'm going to do. I might not get it all done today. I've shown it before, but it's how to do, basically it's post-shading, but just dry brushing. Paul D. Tommaso is in. Welcome, Paul. It's not the same until you're here. Welcome, welcome. All is right with the world. Jordan Only Fox pre-show modelling the Mankini. And that's put everybody off dinner. Nothing could put me off my haggis. You can just shut up. That's not going to happen. Right, so it's wash time. So it's time for some Agrax Earth shadings. Agrax Earth shade. Something just went wrong on my streaming software. Do let me know, Dad, if you're still watching. Do text me if everything falls over. Everything just kind of reset itself. But I think we're still going. Call it egg yolk yellow, says David Sanderson. It will change. This is not the colour. Trust me, this is not the colour it's going to end up being. So, use my little dad device. I need a big ass brush. A big ass brush. Still online, Fox says, Dad. Awesome. Right, so we're going to do a shade over the yellow. You may notice, but I've not done any of the other colours yet, like the reds or the metallics. When we do this yellow, because it's going to involve a lot of dry brushing to get the highlights, I want to get that done first. So we've got all the highs and lows and everything else, and then what I'll do is I'll come back later on and do all the... Oh, hello, Dad's texting me. Oh, will do, I'm concentrating. Cool, thanks, Dad. Yeah, I want to do all the dry brushing on the yellow, which is the majority of the outfit, without having to then go back and touch up all the bits that dry brushed yellow when they were red or black. So I'll do all those afterwards. This is the basic overall colour though, so I'm going to do all this now. I can be careless with the dry brushing, and then I can add the other stuff later. So, Fluffy Guts is in. Welcome, Fluffy Guts. Yes, we're painting an angry marine, so it's yellow. All the yellow. So, big fat brush of happiness. In fact, maybe a bit too big. A bit too happy, that big fat brush of happiness. Well, that's a dry brush. I don't want that. I've got a big shade brush somewhere. There is my big shade brush. That's dry brush, dry brush, dry brush. Oh, for crying out loud, man. There we go. Big shade brush, that'll do. So, big fat brush of happiness. Get on there. Agrax Earth shade, if you've never used it, the trick is shake the living crap out of it. If you don't shake Agrax Earth shade, it comes out shiny, which is ass. So I've got this big huge brush, and I'm just going to get the shade on there. I'm not being delicate. I'm not doing it thinly. I'm covering the whole damn thing. The only thing I'm making sure is that it doesn't pool up anywhere to make a big lumpy blob. Not because it would be too dark. That's not a problem. I don't mind if it's dark, because we are going to do a lot of colour over this. This is just to make a sort of deep shade. But purely because with shades, they are a bit sticky gloopy, and if you leave them to pool up, like along the bottom of the pauldron there, if you leave it too thick, you'll get a physical lump. You'll see it and you'll feel it, and it's because it's such a thick stodgy paint, it will leave a physical lump, and you don't want that because it's impossible to get rid of it. You'd have to strip the whole thing and start again. So you want to get in there and get handy with it. Really just get it all over, slap it on like Ted would say. Don't be delicate with it, don't be prissy, don't be using a little brush, but you want to make sure it's not pooling anywhere. If it does, just move it around. It'll be workable for not very long, but it will be workable for a little while. Move it around a bit. If you have to, touch your brush to some kitchen roll just to get all the excess paint off it. Then touch it to the bit where it's pooled, it'll suck the paint up, and then you can again wick it off onto some kitchen roll. So don't be delicate. Now I'm not bothered about if this dries patchy or bitty or anything like that. There'll be some dark areas, some light areas. I don't care. This is just to darken things up. Firstly, because it makes things look a bit dirty. But when we go over this with the dry brushing, most of this will vanish. It just means that in the recesses and some areas will be darker. And you'll have a contrast between the areas that you do lots of dry brushing over the top and some areas where it might be a little bit darker. So, yeah, don't worry if it's a little bit patchy. That's fine. So I shall get this on now. The way I like to work with the Citadel paints, it's not necessarily fully the Citadel method, but I like to go from, if you're using shades, it kind of means you're going from dark to light. Now, if you're painting a traditional two-dimensional oil painting of, like, you know, a lady sat in a garden or something, or whatever you're painting, your art teacher will have told you that going from dark to light is the stupidest thing you can do because oil paints are transparent and yada yada yada. Yeah, this is a bit different. In painting miniatures, you kind of go from dark to light. You can go from light to dark, but it can be a lot more work. So going from dark to light is the way you want to go. See, they've got a bit blobbed up, but I wanted to, so I'll get most of that paint off on the tissue, and I'll just touch it to there, and it'll suck that up. And there you go, suck up any excess. And it's purely because, like I say, not because it's dark, but purely because it will leave potentially a slight bulge where it's built up, and I don't want that. So that reminds me of the dudes in Borderlands when you shoot them in the head and the head blows off and they have a little tiny snub left, but then they go bonkers and attack you. Not much on the hand then, a bit more on the hand, just a tiny amount. And there we go. Now the reason I haven't painted the red bits yet is I'm going to use a different shade on the red. The reds will get a black shade. So what I need to do now is I need to do the head, but I need the head to be on something. Let me see if I've got a paintbrush wide enough. There is my big fat paintbrush. Come to me, fat paintbrush. Oh, that's not fat enough. Big fat paintbrush. Da, ba, da, ba, da. Yes, big fat paintbrush. There you go, nice and shiny. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do before I do that. I'm going to rinse the brush quickly. I'm going to give this another shake. You don't need to, but because Agrax can dry shiny, you want to keep shaking it every now and then. Do 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 do. So again, same with the head. Let's just get it all over. Oops, a bit of spillage, never mind. That's what your cutting mat's for, to take all the hassle. Seems to be some tussage going on in the chat there. I don't know who AS is. I don't know what's going on, but do behave yourselves. Remember, this isn't necessarily family friendly. This is nothing to do with any of my sponsors. It's not an e-model show. You can use rude words in chat if you want. You're not going to be told off for swearing. But yeah, I don't know what that was all about. But Dad's dealt with it. It's like I've said before, Dad's as soft as butter, but you cross him, he'll snap you in half. Do 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 do. You can swear, you can use rude words, just don't be a tool. While I'm doing this, just a quick reminder, if you like my channel, if you like what I do, and you want to help support me, do keep in mind I do this for my living. This is what I do for my income. I depend 100%, well, I depend 95% on my Patreon supporters, and 5% on my companies that support this channel. You know well, Goblin Gaming supports this channel massively with their affiliate link program, and I can't thank them enough. So do use the link that I've posted in chat already, and it's in the description below this video if you need to pick stuff up for your tabletop gaming and you want to save bigly. Games Workshop, Conflict 47 and Malifaux are 20% off RRP on across the whole ranges, and other ranges and other products are massively discounted. Use the link in the description below this video. Let's probably get too much in there. Let's suck some of that out. Use the link in the description, and you will not only save yourself massively, but you'll also help out my channel because I make a little tiny bit of income off that. Also, I do have an Amazon store, so if you need to pick stuff up from Amazon, you can also help out my channel by using the link in the description below the video for my Amazon store. And if there's something that's not there, it's UK only, I'm afraid, but if there's something that's not there, let me know, I can add it. I'm going to put him, I've got to figure somewhere to put this now so he's not going to fall over. Where can I put it? I shall put it there. That's going to fall over. Where can he go? There you go. He's kind of balancing delicately now. Probably fall over. You can also, if you want to, you can become a Patreon supporter. You can support me on Patreon. Address is below. It's down here. It's patreon.com/modelmakingGuru. There are various rewards, for being a patron. I'm currently in the middle of doing a Patreon exclusive Sazabi build. And you can support me for as little or as much as you want, from anything from $1 onwards a month. For the less than the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you can help me out massively. There are exclusive benefits and so on. And all patrons get access to my content a week early without adverts. So there's always reasons to help out. And last of all, of course, if you want to be more of a passive supporter, you're more than welcome to. You can just make sure you subscribe, like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're up to date with any new releases or anything like that. Okay, right, that's drying. I shall have a quick swig of the coffees and we shall have a look at chattings and see what's going on. George Gabriel says, Fox, taste it, dang it. Now, I know what Agrax Surshade tastes like. You know, like, some of you out there will be brush lickers. I'm a brush licker. When I'm painting with a nice brush, I'm like that. Yeah, I lick my brush to get a fine point. However, all paints have a different taste. Now, you never do that with lacquer paints because they're horrible and dangerous and toxic. However, one thing I don't recommend, acrylic paints are fairly harmless if you get it in your mouth a little bit. Don't do it with Agrax Surshade. Ever. Don't ever get Agrax Surshade in your mouth for even the tiniest molecule. Don't do it. It is, without sounding rude, the worst thing. You will never have more regret for putting something in your mouth than if it's Agrax Surshade. I don't care what you say. They'll never have more regret. Everything else is for Agrax Surshade. It's just made of just ass and dead things and disease and blackness and Candy Graham says, what's the best tasting paint? I don't know, but old Lamian Medium actually smells like apple sauce. Right, what's going on? Let's have a look. Chat. Doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle. Squig, we've done that one. Jordan Capuano, good afternoon. Oh, I've done that one already. I'm just catching up. Fluffy Gut says, how is everyone today? Thank you, Fluffy. I'm fine, thank you. Welcome. Let's have a look. Snowman HFC says, all the talk about haggis makes me want a fried haggis and black pudding sandwich. David Butcher, I want that now. Shut up. Oh, I'm hungry. I've got an hour and a half to go yet, and you're talking about David Butcher, that model asks Simon Reynolds or our Lord and Saviour Kevin, current stream boss. Have you used the technical contrast medium to thin contrast paint to use as a glaze? I haven't used it yet, actually. I must admit. The theory is that you've got your Lamian medium, which is the... Remember I was saying about like diluting the paint with a glaze medium? This is Lamian medium, which is Games Workshop's basically paint without colour. So if you want to dilute your paint and make it behave, not have it behave any differently, use Lamian medium. However, they do have a contrast medium, which is for their contrast paint. So I'm going to guess... You could just say it's sly marketing to get it's the same. It might well be that the contrast paints have a slightly different physical makeup, chemical makeup to the normal paints, and therefore the contrast medium fills the same job as the Lamian medium, but it's slightly chemically different, and therefore that's why it's a different thing. You probably can just use Lamian medium with the contrast paints, but I've not tried. I would guess maybe there's going to be a slight difference, but I don't know. Let's have a look. Paul is in Canada, Dave. I don't know. Sorry. Paul says, where do you get the blank Space Marine Funko Pop? You can get them from Warhammer stores, or you can actually get them on the Games Workshop website. Even though when you get the box it says exclusive in-store only, you can actually buy them on the Games Workshop website. So because you're in Canada, you can still get them. So just pop along to either your local Warhammer store, or if they haven't got them, you can probably order them from the store. Well, I don't know about everywhere else, but in the UK, what you find is that Warhammer stores will have a big iPad that's about 3 foot square. That's awesome. I want one. It's a big iPad like this, but it's like about 2 foot long. Basically, for anything that's not available in store, things like Forge World or some of the Lord of the Rings stuff, or some of the models that they just don't carry in store because they can't have everything, you can order them on their iPad, and it'll either be delivered to the store or you can have it delivered to your house. If you do it in store, though, have it delivered to the store because it helps your store manager out a bit. It goes down as a sale against his figure, so it's always good to have it delivered to the store. But you can get it for in store. Of course, go to Goblin Gaming. You can get 20% off. But you're in Canada, so you can't. Yeah, your local Games Workshop store or Games Workshop website because you're in Canada. If you're in the UK or Europe, Goblin Gaming. There you go, 20% off. Yes, there was a comment from AS. I don't know what that's about, though. I don't know who said what to anyone. I don't care. I don't know who you are. Do. I heard what you said to Goblin Gamer Tabletop Fan. I no idea what you're talking about. Bye. You were timed out, but carry it on and you'll be kicked out. Let's all be cool, guys. I should have got Dad some Mordraka's making his 388 barrels. He says I should have got some Dad red primer spray for these drums that I've used in lead belcher. When I painted all my well, not all of it, but most of my Sazabi armor parts today, I've got 2 cans of Mephiston red. Yeah, nice one. George Gabriel. George Gabriel says, lick the brush. Agrax tastes lovely after you've shaken it, says Gross Models. Yeah, you can't convince me, I know. George says that Dad is nicer than I am. Chris at Gross Models puts the link in for Goblin Gaming. Thank you very much. Fluffy Guts says something and it moved. Fluffy Guts asks if there are any Conflict 47 players here. I haven't played it, but I've seen some of the models. And when I went to Goblin Gaming and checked out some of the little tables they've got, and they've got some of the... I was like, has that Sherman tank got like a plasma gun on the front? He was like, yeah, that's Conflict 47. I'm like, cool! It's like World War II, alt history, slightly futuristic. I'll have to get myself some of that. Quano Man says, Patreon is where the cool kids hang out. The sub-capes, I'll say that again, the scubapes, wow, hang on, reading, the scuba pairs, see it could be scubapes, but I think it's scuba pairs, the scuba pairs at 377, wow, god damn it, hang on, more coffee, I can't even read numbers now, holy cow, let's try that again. Previously on Bones. The Scuba Pez 376 says, Foxy! Exclamation point. How is your conquest coming along while the Funko is drying and coffee swigging? It's not. I've not had a chance to go anywhere near it, so I'm building. My plan is, because I haven't got time to paint it at all. I haven't got time to do any of that. That's why I've not done it for a while. But I've got stuff piling up. The packs and packs are piling up in the front room. So I'm basically getting everything out and building it so I can at least put it in my Conquest, in my Crusader case, or in one of my little skirmish boxes, or put them on a shelf, or just have the models built and put to one side, not taking up all that space. Because I've got like 3 or 4 little skirmish cases and a big Crusader transport case that I can put stuff in. So they are all off. I'm trying to get them built, but I've only got to like issue, I think, 30 or something. I'm massively behind. I think the latest one I was doing was some of the like captains and sergeants for the Space Marine. So I'm massive. I've not even got to the. I don't know where I'm up to. I've just finished doing the Rhino for Chaos. I've done a couple of dudes, so I'm even behind on that. Just not had time. Excuse me. Let's have a look. Fluffy Gut says, I'm a proud brush licker too. Yeah, brush lickers. Brush lickers unite. Always be brush licking. Chris at Gross Model says, oh, that's a good question, Quano, but I don't know what the question was because there is no question from Quano. I think Chris is just making it up. Candy. Oh, yes, he asked what the best paint was. David Sanderson says, tastes like soy sauce. It does not taste like soy sauce. Although I have to say, I do love soy sauce on everything. And I've recently found some soy sauce that's basically not normal soy sauce. I hate light soy sauce. I love dark soy sauce. But this stuff is soy sauce for sashimi and sushi, and it's amazing. It's like really sweet. It's fantastic. It's like dark soy sauce with loads of sugar in it. It's brilliant. Let's have a look. Is it bad? I really want to taste it now, says Richard Gibbs. Tasting Agrak Surshade is the kind of thing you always do. You only ever do once. Unless you're really accident prone and really forgetful. You can taste it, folks, because you stopped smoking. I've had taste buds now. Oh, trust me, I would have tasted it even if I was a hardcore smoker. Simon Reynolds is in. Kevin's in. All right, folks, he says. Just popped in to say hi. Welcome, Kevin, our Lord and Saviour. Dad says, all latecomers, what's on your bench and what's in your belly? So welcome, Simon. Don't forget, of course, like I say, we are ongoing, doing the stream boss battle. Simon, Kevin, our Lord and Saviour, is the current stream boss. By doing super chats in the chat window, the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat, or by doing tips to the tip jar, streamlabs.com/modelmakingguru, or just simply by liking and subscribing and then hitting the notification bell, you can help reduce Simon's health. His current health is 783,000 and some other numbers I can't quite see with these glasses on. Every time you subscribe, it takes a tiny bit of health off. Every time you do a tip to the tip jar or you do a super chat in the chat window, the more you put through as a chat or a tip, obviously the more of his health comes off. Whoever gets him to 0 wins all the money raised through the tips and the super chats. That is going to be, you don't win the money, but you win, basically, you can order anything you want from Games Workshop, Forge World, or if you're in the UK or the EU, Goblin Gaming, up to the value of all that money raised. When Simon became the stream boss, he won 499 quid as a budget. He bought all kinds of shizzle. So yeah, all the money raised through tips and super chats goes into the pot, and you become the owner of that pot. You become the new stream boss, and you get to tell me what you want me to order for you from Games Workshop or Forge World, if you're anywhere in the world. That just can have that. Games Workshop and Forge World, whatever you want, we can order it. And if you're in the EU or the UK, you can also make your order through Goblin Gaming as well. So yeah, get to it. Get doing your tips and super chats. But Simon, who said hello, he is the current stream boss. Print Guru says the contrast paints are all quite different. They are not water based apparently, so Lamy and medium won't really work as it'll affect the specific properties of the paint. That is what I was thinking. I was thinking there may be it's a different chemical process, so it might have the Lamy and medium might do something, but it won't work as a medium. It might have a different. It might be worth trying it just to see what it does. It might do something really cool. It won't necessarily be useless, but that's why they have their own different medium, but it fulfills the same function. I would assume, I'm guessing now, but I would assume that the contrast medium is just a contrast paint with no pigment in it. The same way that Lamian medium is a bog standard, it's actually a shade, really, with no actual pigment in it, but it works perfectly with the paint. So it's no different to a paint with no pigment in it, effectively. So when you add this to a paint or to a shade, you're diluting it. When you add the contrast medium to a contrast paint, you're diluting it, you're not thinning it. But adding contrast medium to regular paint or adding regular medium to contrast paint, it might do something. It's not designed to it, but it might do something. It might be worth trying it just to see what it does. But it will behave differently. It will change the way. If you want to be able to dilute your paint and make it behave the same way it did before, you need to use the right medium. So these is Lamian medium or even Vallejo glaze medium. Any acrylic paint glaze medium will do. But for contrast paint, I would stick with the contrast medium. Dad says the Games Workshop warehouses are out of them. What, the Funko Pops? There'll be more. Don't worry. There'll be more. Quanaman says, Chris at Gross Models, did you spot the baby wildlife that some sneaky sneaked into the Gross group? Oh, okay, it's not talking about anything else. I don't know what that is. Oh, hello. Everything jumped. I don't know what that is, by the way. Our Print Guru says, I was told this by the person who developed the paints for Games Workshop. I did assume that. Jerry says, use the contrast medium for contrast. Lamy medium, it doesn't work very well. There you go, same thing. Fluffy Gut says, my local store is very small. If I need something, I asked Eric to order it. Paul Di Tommaso is munching on some Maynard's Swedish fish. That just fills me with too much dread. If it's anything like actual Swedish fish. All kinds of things being going on, but private conversation, not private, but internecine conversations. Fluffy Guts says, I have a massive pile of projects, but I've got nothing done this week thanks to 5 foster kittens coming in all of us. Oh, I see. Yeah, kittens. Foster kittens coming all over. Fluffy Guts looks after kittens and things. There's always kittens happening. I had a kitten mortar fired at me. Agrax needs salt. Don't ask me how I know, says Eric Graham. Yes. Dad says 78,326 is Kevin's current health. Vallejo glazed medium tastes horrible, says George. I haven't tried that. Scuba Pairs says, so in theory, when you use Lamy medium to a Games Workshop paint, it becomes a shade, yet when you use contrast medium to contrast paint, it becomes a glaze. Yes, that's a good way to put it. If you add Lamy medium to a paint, just for Dad, Mephiston Red, you can basically make... You can make a glaze or you can make a shade. If you put a fair amount of paint into the Lamy medium, you make basically a shade, effectively. But it's your own colour shade. It's basically this with a hint of colour to it. If you add a lesser amount of regular paint, you can actually make a glaze with Lamy medium as well. Because a glaze is just a very, very, very diluted paint. So a glaze would be a lot more dilute than a shade. So really you've got paint, then you've got a lot dilute is a shade, and even more diluted would be a glaze. That's not a glaze, but it would be a glaze. Because a glaze is almost no colour. Now you can make, when you're painting something, you can do glazing with paint and water as well, because you're only painting tiny areas. It's not so bad. If you're painting something big like, this guy's head, you wouldn't make a glaze with water because you get tide marks. For painting tiny things, you can use water. But yes, you would make a glaze. With contrast paints are kind of already like a glaze anyway, because they're very, very dilute. They're a bit more dilute in colour than a shade. They're totally different things, but they're not really like a shade. Because a lot of people say, isn't it just like a shade? No, because they're kind of more dilute. They're more transparent. It's about your transparency. Paint is opaque. A shade is semi-transparent. A glaze is exceptionally transparent. So with contrast paints are like... Well, contrast paints are more transparent than a shade. So a contrast paint is between a shade and a glaze. So if you add some of the contrast medium to a contrast paint, you're making... I might get myself confused here. Yes. It's already like a glaze. So you're just making an even more transparent glaze. You make it more of a glaze. So yeah, it's kind of a good way to put it. So contrast paints are already more transparent than a shade anyway. They're just like a very thin shade. So adding more contrast medium will make it more of a glaze. It's Candy Fox, one of many that's made here. Ooh, I like the sound of that. Osric 9000 said, I'm here. Have I won any stickers yet? No, not yet. Welcome, Osric. What time are we on? 4:45. Okay, we'll have a swig of coffee. This is still drying a little bit. I don't think I'm going to get too much more done on that. That's still... I could hairdryer it, but where's the fun in that? I don't like hairdrying shades. They never seem to work the same way. But we'll keep that going. So what I'll do, let's do some sticker giveaways while he's drying them. If I can get that head to just stay there and not fall over. It's so heavy. I put it in, standing it up in a glass, and I'm just worried the glass is going to go flying. So I'll put him to one side. We'll do some sticky giveaways. We might get a bit of painting done before the end of the show. A bit more painting on that. So let me get the stickies. This week we are giving away. We've got a Butcher That Model set of 2. I do them in sets of 2 because they're only little ones, so I do them in set of 2. We have a Goblin Gaming because they gave me loads and give them away. And we've got one of mine, a Model Making Guru sticker. Let me get the Pen of Happiness. There's the Pen of Happiness. Now, if you've not played this before, anybody who is new... Yes, Dad, I'm sitting on my hands, says Dave at Butcher That Model. He's not allowed to win stickers. If you've not played this before, dead simple, I'll ask a question. The first person to get the question right wins a sticker of their choice. Now, remember, first of all, just because you appear first in the chat on your computer screen doesn't mean you're actually first in the actual chat. The actual chat is what you see here. And the actual chat is what YouTube has. So you'll always appear first on your chat because that's on your computer. It's still got to be sent to YouTube and appear on their chat. So I go off the YouTube chat. So don't think because you're first on yours doesn't mean you're actually first. And also, by this point in the show, there's always a lag between the video, what you're looking at with all your eyes, now there, you see their eyes, and with the actual chat itself. So what I want you to do before we do anything is to hit the refresh button on your browser and drag that slider. So refresh, and then drag the slider. Refresh it, and drag refresh, and drag. There you go. So refresh and drag, just to make sure you've got a minimal lag between video and the chat. I do set this video so that the lag is minimal anyway, but over the course of an hour or so, you do get a bit of a gap, a lag between chat and everything else. Can Do Game from Mongo says the answer is tachyon. Particle walks into a bar. Right, so we have 3 stickers. I shall write some words. And in the honour of the fact we're painting an angry marine, we're going to put always angry all the time and angry. So we've got always angry, all the time, angry. There you go. So we've got 3 lots of stickers. So 1 model making guru, a pair of Butcher That Model, and a Goblin Gaming sticker. Remember, of course, a lot of the people in the chat who are mods, and a lot of people in the chat anyway, have their own channels and content. I don't have a problem promoting other people's stuff, helping them out. So don't forget, if you see people in chat, they've probably got a channel. If you click on the little 3 dots on the right hand side of their comment, you can go to their channel. Do it later on, don't do it right now, obviously. But Dad has his own channel. Dave at Butcher That Model has his own channel. Butcher That Model, strangely enough. George has his own channel. And quite a few people in there do have their own channels. Chris at Gross Models, obviously he has a channel as well. So do take a moment at some point just to see if people have their own channel, because a lot of them do. So like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Right, so we've got 3 stickers. I need to think of 3 questions. I shall have a swig of coffee and do some thinking. Nom nom. Quantum Man is refreshed and is now in drag. A Terrace says, afternoon all. Sorry, I am a late boy. You're a late boy, but you've just come in time for the stickers. Look at that. Are you taking up Carl's place? I've not seen Carl for a long time, but you turn up just before we did the sticker giveaway, so I think you're taking his place now. Right, so let us think of some questions. Oh, God. Let's think of some questions. Got to think of some questions now. Think of some questions. Can't think of a question. Let's think of a question. Think of a question. Okay, here we go. Right. See if you've been paying attention. Earlier on, I was saying that I have been sorting out the armour on my big Sazabi build. And I've painted all the inner frame, the base colours. And I've spent a little time this morning spraying some of the armour parts, the exterior armour. Which colour, which rattle can, Games Workshop rattle can colour did I use to spray the armour? Go. I primed the armour using a specific colour. Rattle can. Games Workshop rattle can. What colour was it? Yeah, and now I created it say red, but I'm looking for the full answer, so I'm going to give it to a Terrace who says Mephiston red. That is the right answer. So a Terrace, well done. You got Mephiston red was the right answer. I like to get the full answer on that one. So would you like always angry all the time or just angry? So that's me, Goblin Games, or Butcher That Model. Which one would you like? We don't pay attention. Are you mad? Says George Gabriel. Yeah. Foxy thinking, don't hurt yourself. Yeah, I'm a bit shocked that Dad totally didn't answer that within milliseconds. But there you go. So a Terrace, yes, which one would you like? We'll all sit and look at you. Oh, angry. He wants angry. There you go. So that's a Terrace. Well done. A Terrace, thank you. That's yours. Now remember, if you've seen this before, if you've never seen this show before, in fact, yeah, I'm rubbish at sending these things out. I will put these together in a big pile. I live nowhere near the post office. I do have some stuff to post in a few days though. But I always it takes me forever to get to the post office to post these out. So if you have won stickers in the past, don't worry, and you've not had them for months and months, don't panic. I've still got them here with your name on the back. I just haven't sent them out. I do suck at doing this, so it could be months before you get these, but don't panic. And it's not always guaranteed you'll get the right ones, but you'll get something. If you win a sticker, you just need to send me an email to fox@modelmakingguru.com. The address is always there on the screen. In the title, just put that you've won a sticker. And I just need to know your name. And yes, if you're waiting for stickers already and you've already emailed me for those, you still need to email me now for the stickers you win today. If I've got 13 emails in my inbox from you, then I know at least there should be 13 stickers at least in there, or maybe more, with your name on. So don't panic if you've been waiting months. I know, I suck. What can I do? Right. Let's have a look. I've got to think of another question. Right, here we go. Quick question. Very, very quick question. Everybody ready? Okay, just Django's just appeared. Okay, hello, welcome. We're doing questions. Now, seeing as we're painting an angry marine, the next question is, ready? When are angry marines angry? Go. When are angry marines angry? Thy creator is correct with all the time. Yes, always angry all the time. Tuesday, says Chris at Gross Models. Everybody gets that one right all the time. So well done, thy creator. Would you like a twin shot of Butcher that model or a model making a guru? Which one would you like? Duty Guy McPants says, in the presence of chaos. No, it's all the time. All the time. They're always angry. All the time. Beyond Hope says 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. So, thy creator, which one would you like? Always angry. There you go. So, thy creator, well done. I've not left myself enough space. Well done. Pop me an email, name and address, and you know what to do. You know what to do. It's always my sticker that's last. Have you noticed that? It's almost like the fat kid. Nobody wants the fat kid on their team, do they? It's like, oh. Chris at Gross Model says, technically I am correct. What did you say? Tuesdays. Yeah, Tuesdays, but all the other time as well. Fluffy Gut says, I'm a short woman, so I know all about being angry all the time. Do you like yellow? Right, so one left now. Can I think of a question or shall I just do a number? Osric says, damn it, Wi-Fi died. What was the question again? The password is based. Based. Right, so last question. Okay, we'll do a bit of it. I'm not going to do a number. George Gabriel says, we all have 20 of your stickers. I know, everybody's got millions of my stickers. You just have to buy more things you can put my stickers on. That's the solution. Right, so, okay, very, very quick question. And this requires some callback to earlier on in the show. Jordan Capuano says, all the time. Bit of lag there, dude. If you hit the refresh button, you're a bit behind on that one. That's some hell of a lag. Right, so, this is a thinking question now. Earlier on, I showed you the parchment paper that I use for my wet palette. And I said how it was very handy because the parchment paper is almost as wide as a Games Workshop Tufts box, which means you don't have to fart about cutting it down to size. What was the width? Go. What width was it? Always angry all the time. 50 years, says George Gabriel. Yes, my parchment paper is 50 years wide. It's a bit like 12 parsecs. Dude, 7 miles. Mordraka 09 is spot on with 10 centimetres. Yes, both of them are. 10 centimetres by 25 metres. So well remembered. Some of you out there are paying attention. I do like it. So, yeah, well done. Thy creator's like, no! Damn it, no number today. Yeah, thy creator likes doing the number one because he goes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Just all the numbers in the range. So who won that? I've forgotten already now. Mordraka, well done. So you've won yourself that one. Mordraka 09. There you go. So well done to the three of you two. Send me an email, fox@modelmakingguru.com. The address is there. You know it's there. The address is there. Always there. Send me an email with the if you want to stick it in the title and give me your name and address. Even if we've got 32 stickers waiting for you to turn up, still give me your name and address each time anyway. I did have one the other day that said, "Hi, can you put the sticker with all the other ones?" I'm like, yeah, I need your address. Because I'll literally treat my inbox like my to-do box. So I'll just see 32 emails from you. And I might have sent ones before that, so always assume I haven't got your address. One word of thing though, just to make sure everybody's happy with this, as soon as I send you your stickers, I do delete your email. I do not store your address details or anything like that at all. I have no reason to. I have no interest in doing that. So anything you send me, your address and stuff, it is completely deleted. As soon as I've sent your stickers out, I delete it. It's gone. Trash bin emptied. No evidence. So yeah, I don't keep anybody's address. So there you go. Right, well done to stickery peoples. How are we doing with this chap now? He's almost dried. Let's have a look. George says bunch of suck-ups in here. Well, because they remembered. Thy creator says cough. No. 100mm says Chris. Is that why I haven't got anything yet? I don't know. Some mail from someone. Is that just a... There we go. Lovely. Thank you, Isaac. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly blast this with the hairdryer, just because you only got a little bit left to dry, so let me do that now. I'm going to just mute the microphone for a second, just so you're not getting the blast. So you'll get pretty pictures, but you won't actually hear anything. So back in a second, one moment. And we are back. We are back. Where is Guth? Oh yeah, Guthorm. Well, because my iPad's not on the thing, it's up in the air now, so I couldn't have him stood next to... Guthorm is here. He's watching from the side. I don't want to put him there though, because he'll get covered. I'll put him there. I'll put him where the microphone is. Can you see him? No, he's not. Isn't there? I don't want to get him covered in splashback from the... Where can I put him? He's not going to get covered in paint and brush wash. I'll put him there again. You can go there. There you go. You can watch over the proceedings. Gross Model says, ew. Oh, a terrorist says, to answer your previous question, I have absorbed Carl. Now we are one. Ew. Fluffy Gut says, help, I've gone blind in the ears. Your ears are visually not working. Alright, gotta go. Oh, Thy Creator says, alright, gotta go. See you next week, guys. I like that. Thy Creator turns up, takes the stickers and goes. I don't know. Sort of mercenary, isn't it? Terrible. Tell him his mic is still off, says Chris at Grace Models. You know I can read the chat, don't you? You know I can read that. Also, there's a flashing light that tells me it's not. Right, so that is now dried. And as you can see, this looks nothing like an Angry Space Marine. It's just messy and brown. And look at the state of that. It's ming-tacular. This is the downside of shades. But not a downside if you're doing what we're doing. So that looks bloody awful, let's just be honest. Terrible, terrible, but that's fine, because we're only for the recesses. So I'm going to get myself a dry brush. I want a dry brush, I want a big dry brush. Foot fed. that'll do. Big dry brush fed. Oh, yeah, maybe that one will do. It was a bit too big, I don't know. Let's have a think. That'll do for the big areas. I'll need a smaller one for the face edge area. And all we're going to do is, now that we've got the wash or the shade on there to darken up the recesses, we need to come back and tidy that up. So we're going to go back in with the same base colour. It was Avalanche Sunset. Remember, 2 coats of Avalanche Sunset. We're going to go back in with the Avalanche Sunset and do the dry brushings. And you know how to do dry brushing. Get your big fat dry brush. Don't need a lot. Just a little bit on the brush like that. Get most of it off. It's quite wasteful doing dry brushing. I'm not going to lie to you. It is quite a wasteful process, but it's great fun. Now the trick is, you want to go in circles. You don't want to go too intensely. No pressure whatsoever. And you want to build up the paint slowly. You don't want to get big thick blobs of paint on there straight away. Because what we're trying to do, we want to get the middle of panels and the raised highlight areas back to a nice smooth yellow. So that where there is like a big dribble of shade there, where there is shade, it's just in the recesses and towards the bottom and corners of panels to suggest a shadowy effect. You want the shaded browny sort of yellow areas to be what would be the pre-shaded part if you'd done pre-shading. Remember, this is pre-shading in reverse. This is post-shading. Now, it's going to take a while, and you're going to go through a series of brushes. I'm not going to use this big, fat, massive brush the size of France for everything. Some of the smaller areas, of course, I will use a smaller brush. But the trick is we want to try and keep this smooth surface. Now, what I've learned is when you're dry brushing like this, if you're careful and you work in small circles, always be using little circular motions. There's 2 ways to do dry brushing. If you do little circles, you can blend the colour. If you do little flicky backwards and forwards, you're just going to pick out the edges. We don't want to pick out the edges. We want to get a blend of colours. If you do little circular motions and go gently, you can get about 2, maybe 3 different dry brush layers before you start to get a grain, a visible grain to the paint. Because eventually, you know, you do a dry brush layer. This is smooth paint. Do a dry brush layer, it just kind of goes and covers everything up. Over time, you do that dry brush layer, then you do another dry brush layer on top. That's a rougher surface, so the dry brush layer is going to pick out the edges and the highlights on that rougher surface. You'll get a bit of a tiny grain, but almost invisible. But the more dry brushing you do, the more that grain gets amplified. So we'll do an Avalanche Sunset dry brush all over. Then we'll do another one with the Uriel yellow, and then we'll do another one with the Phalanx yellow, but that's probably about as far as we can go before it starts to look terrible. And it is going to take a while because this guy is so big. It's going to take quite a while to build up the colour, but that's it. We're going to build up these colours to get rid of all this patchy bits and just make it more uniform. But it's going to take a while because he's got a big old head. Girt big bonds, this fella. Thy creator is Data from the Next Generation. Wherever you go, there you are. Need to go all. Hope you have a nice evening. Bye, says Snowman. Thanks for coming in, dude. Thank you for visiting. Take care and see you all next week. Or see you next week. Hey, see you next week, lately. It's great. Fabulous. Fantastic. Now, what I'm doing here is you can see there's a little, I don't know if it'll come on camera, but there is a very faint, as I'm going over this bit of shade that piled up on the edge of the helmet here, it is still a bit visible because this dry brush layer is sort of transparent. And what I'm wanting to do is not get rid of it altogether. If I just fade the dry brush a bit, it just has a little hint of a shade there, little tiny hint of a shade, but it doesn't look like a big bold line of shade anymore. It's just a little bit of shadow on that edge, and it just gives it a bit of variation. Now, we are going to do chipping and other things on this paint job anyway, so I cannot worry about it too much. And also, I've got less dry brushing here where his sort of vent on the top is. I've mostly focused in the middle here. I know it's not the best angle. Can you actually see that? A little bit. It's focused mostly in the middle here, so you've still got shading here, and you've still got a little bit of shading around the edge here. That's what we're looking for, to have that natural step from the Avalanche Sunset to a slightly darker colour. And this is the post-shading effect we're looking for. This is what you would normally do with a pre-shade, where you would spray a darker colour underneath. We haven't done that because we've not used an airbrush. Airbrush denied. So this is what we're attempting to do, is do a post shade. So it's very boring now. I just have to do this for about an hour. It will take a while because this is quite a big thing to do. His head, it's quite big and meaty. So, but the same principle applies even on smaller models for this effect. Again, if you go to my main channel, YouTube channel page, and click on the playlists menu option at the top, there is a playlist for how to do pre-shading without an airbrush, which is what we're going to be doing here. Now, I'm not going to get it all done today, so what we'll probably do is I will do as much as I can now, and then off camera later on today I'll get the rest of the Avalanche sunset done, and then next week when we come back we'll carry on with the next layer of dry brushing. And the trick is with each layer you get less and less. I've got some paint on my hand there somewhere. Where's that come from? I don't know. Let me get that off my hand now. Yeah, that's it. Stick. Now the beauty is, because I'm going to do weathering like chipping and stuff, I can in some places leave it a little bit patchy, where you can see blebs and streaks and things of the shade underneath. And there's no harm in doing that, because like I said, I know I'm going to be doing some chipping and stuff like that later on. It just adds, I'm going to make him look battered and beaten because he's an angry Marine. He just kills everything and he screams a lot. So of course he's going to be, his armor's going to be like just battered to hell. So I'm going to keep it patchy. And I might, I don't know yet, but I might do a kind of outline effect of Borderlands, because I was so taken with that Borderlands outline effect I did on the Ridge Runner that I want to do everything now. I want my entire army to be like Borderlands style, but I can't. Yeah, so. See that? No dad's device, says Chris at Gross Models. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm dry brushing, so it's open and closed very briefly. It's not like a shade. Dad device is kind of optional for paints. Absolutely mandatory for shades and glues, or for shades. Well, yeah, for glues as well, but not the same device, obviously. So there we go. So yeah, so I've left some patchiness here at the bottom and around this bit here, but I know there's more to come. There's a highlight that's going to go in the middle, and each colour we do, each dry brush layer we do of a lighter colour gets smaller and smaller and focus more and more into the middle of the panel. So if I was just doing this layer, it would look a bit weird, but because I know I've got more to come, if I'll do a little bit more, I've got more to come. See, there you go, Chris, it's closed now. It's only open for that brief second. I'm watching him, says Dad. Yes, we always tell Chris off. Chris likes to use shades and things and just like dip the brush in the shade and stuff, and he never uses Dad's device, and Dad tells him off. It's a bit different for paints. Yeah, so you've got like a darkness there, which again I don't know if it'll come out on camera. Let me zoom in a bit for you. I know I don't like zooming in because it looks terrible, and I can't get the camera much closer because I'll bang it with my head. In fact, let's get the camera closer. Screw it. For you, I'll do it. Let me just change my glasses so I can get the focus right for you. Eine Momente bitte. Where is the focus? The focus is there. There we go. Is that a bit better? Yeah, you can see a bit better now. It's not brilliant. I'd say you'll never get a brilliant view with the webcam. Soz. It's not the same as actually sitting here looking at it, but there you go. But you get the idea. There's kind of a patchiness down here now, which just gives a dirty, grubby contrast to the bit that's just Avalanche Sunset. Now this bit here, this little bit that's normally metal on a Marine's helmet, is actually going to be red. So I can kind of ignore that for the moment. Don't mind if I get paint on that. Don't care about it. But the bit around it, I want to be yellow. A big blob of the shade here, you see. So what I can do is, again, circular motions. Circles is the trick to doing any kind of blend dry brush. It's like I've said before, when I was younger, I used to do lots of cartoon art. And when I was really young, I used to do basically ink outlines and then colouring with coloured pencils, not watercolours, because I wasn't that, I didn't know when I was a little kid. So one thing I learned was when colouring with pencil crayons, for example, if you just go backwards and forwards with the pencil crayon, it'll look like pencil crayon, it'll look like terrible gash, you'll have marks and lines everywhere. If you do little circles, Each swipe of the pencil, or in this case the paintbrush, is covering up the previous swipe of the paintbrush, and it's like sanding. You go over yourself enough times that it becomes just a general colour without any marks. If you go backwards and forwards, you're going to get lots of straight lines. If you go round and round, you know from sanding, if you go in circular motions, you basically blend everything together. Right, let's have a quick go at this. I'll look at chat. What time are we on? Oh, it's only 5:10. Got ages yet. Doodle-doo-doodle-doo-doo. Give me something to talk about, people in chat, because I'm running out of things to talk about now. I can't. This isn't QVC. I can't do 45 minutes talking about one t-shirt. Yes, I actually watched that once. 45 minutes they talked about a single t-shirt. Jesus. Really too much paint on there. We'll just go around and get this done. Let's have a look. I decided to get involved in Warcry and chose Bone Splitters, which I've decided to paint with red skin, green wah power, and I think some gaudy purple, says a Terrace. Cool, sounds good. I like it. I'm growing to like, at least in the 40k set, I don't know about the Sigmar setting or the fantasy setting, but I'm growing to like the idea of orcs in 40k because they are just kind of silly. They're like just hooligans. Light-hearted hooligans. I might line some paints up on a ledge for next week, says Chris at Grace Models. Yeah, George put a picture up the other day in a little private chat of a load of shades, all with the lid open, all teetering over the brink of a shelf. And it's like, oh, everybody was triggered the hell up. Everybody's like, oh, everybody's sitting there like going, no. It was torture to look at. Did Fox just invite us all round to watch live? Says Chris at Gross Models. Yes, Chris. I invited everybody to come and sit in this small pokey room while I sit and paint. I don't know. Only if they bring food. Fox, are you using the Citadel large dry brush there? Have you tried to use the Army Painter vehicle terrain brush for the dry brushing large areas? This is, yes, the large dry brush. I don't think I've got the vehicle terrain. Yes, I have actually got the vehicle terrain brush somewhere. I'll have a look in a second. I have used it, yes. I've got a whole mess of various sized dry brushes, and they're all really good. The Army Painter brushes are fantastic. Army Painter, large dry brush. Oh, maybe I haven't got the vehicle and terrain one. Or have I? What's that one? Oh yeah, that one. Not used it yet. However, the bristles are a bit hard. The bristles on this feel a lot softer. I'll give it a try in a second. But I do like to dry brush, because for this effect I'm not trying to pick out edges, I'm trying to do a blend. It's really all about getting the softest possible bristles. So, in fact, what I might do is I'm going to dump this dry brush, because I am starting to notice a little tiny bit of grain even at this early stage. I'm just going to change some tissue over, because I've got... hang on. I've got tissue going out the wazoo here and paint going onto my table. No. There you go. I've noticed a little bit of grain on the dry brush stage even at this early stage. So let's just swap this brush over, because I'll tell you what I have got. Vasily is in. Welcome, Vasily. And Ray Aquilina. Hello, my friends. Welcome, Ray. Hello, my friend. Ray lives in Malta, and that's awesome, because he sent me loads of bits. Malta things, and they're brilliant. Yeah, that feels a bit too rough for me. I've not tried it, but I'm reluctant to try it on this. I'm reluctant to... It feels like it'd be nice for... Not on camera. It feels like it'd be nice for picking up edges, but they feel really stiff. I do have, though, some absolutely fantastic Daler Rowney graduate brushes. These are flat wash brushes, but they are so soft. This is basically the softest thing you'll ever have. Because the base and dry brushes from Games Workshop are actually quite soft. They're really nice for soft blends. But this is even softer. This is, I think it's sable. Might be sable. Not sure. I've got various sizes, but I'm going to try this one because this is the softest. This is even softer. I'm going to give this a go. I don't think I've used this one yet. I've had it for years. I've used the smaller ones. Clearly I've not used this one. The paint on there. Give that a shake. But I do find when you're trying to do a blend of paints, the softest brush is the one you want for the smoothest paint finish. And that GW brush was giving me a little bit of a texture there, just a very tiny texture. So small circles. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I can feel the difference in the way the brush moves across the surface. Oh, feel the quality. Oh yes, they are expensive though because these are proper artist brushes. So yeah, they're not cheap. I've got some brushes that I paid 30 quid for a brush. Because some artist brushes can be very, very expensive. David Butch, that model, says Goblin Gaming stock the full range of army painted brushes. Use Fox's link if you want a good discount on some spot brushes, on some sweet brushes. Yes, as always, if somebody could very, very kind put the link in the chat for me because I can't access chat for some reason today. Put the link for the Goblin Gaming link. It is in the description. Oh. One thing I hate about these paint pots, when it leaks out the back, it's a right pain in the back side, or front side, whichever you prefer. There is a link in the description below the video for Goblin Gaming, my affiliate link. Save 20% off Games Workshop, Conflict 47 and Malifaux, and massive savings on lots of other stuff, including the army painted brushes. But at the same time, if you use the link in the description below, or the one that Chris at Grace Models just pasted in, thank you very much. You do also help me out massively because it's an affiliate link, and I make a little bit of income on every purchase you make. So do consider using that as your default go-to link for Goblin Gaming. You will save bigly and also help keep this channel going because you're awesome. Right, so there we go. Yeah, this is nice now. Yeah, I've got some brushes in my collection that are literally like £30 for a brush. Proper oil painted. I'll show you one in a minute. Proper oil paintery brushes. And I've had them for some of them for quite a long time because I used to do proper painting, two-dimensional oil paint canvas stuff. Swirly, swirly circles, 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 circles. Paint your little circles. There you go. Yes. You could use the brush to pick up the smushed out paint. Ooh. Chris also posted up by accident, but he posted my Patreon link. Thank you very much, Chris. Yes. Excuse me. Yes, you can support me on Patreon. I depend on my patrons for my income because they're all awesome and they help me out. So yeah, you can support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/modelmakingGuru. The link is the one that Chris just posted up by accident. Oh, far too much paint on there. Oh dear. Let's just blend that away. If you get going with too much, just blend it away. There you go. Blend it away now. There. Occasionally you'll get too much paint on the brush and make a bleb of paint. That's fine. So you've got light patch there now. No biggie, because later on that can be a paint chip. I can do chipping and weathering over that to blend it in even more. And there'll be highlights and other things, so don't panic too much. At this point, we're just building in some variation. It's a long process, but it can reward you massively. I could never get used to oils because they take 1,000 years to dry and too much fumes. Oh, they don't smell that bad. Oils smell nice. It's just like a gentle linseed oil smell. But the advantage with actual normal painting with oils is that, yes, they take forever to dry, but it's a canvas in a frame. It's not like a model where it's got, three-dimensional form. That actually requires some handling. The beauty with an oil paint, painting oil paint, is it goes in a frame and you just, there you go, it's done. You don't have to touch it again. Plus the fact that an oil painting, if you do them right, they can take you months to paint anyway, so it's all good fun. But I did enjoy painting with oil paints. I started doing that at school. It's great fun. Oil paints are brilliant to paint with. Okay, so we know more of this now. This is probably really exciting for you to watch, me just doing the little circles constantly. It's true, it's more the solvents, says Weebadoodles. Oh, hi, by the way, Weebadoodles. Yeah, if you're doing oil paints, apologies. If you're painting with oil paints, I do not recommend using white spirit or turpentine and stuff. Whether it's model making or traditional, painting on a canvas painting, if you're using oil paints, get yourself some odorless oil paint thinners. I mean, I use that with the model making. They also work with enamels as well. But just get yourself some odorless oil paint thinners. They're odorless. They do have a slight smell, but they don't smell anywhere as bad as terps or white spirit. So that's, yeah. Get yourself some of them. You'll be glad that you did. Then you just get the lovely smell of the actual paints themselves, which is actually quite pleasant. I hear a swig of Agrax cures cough, says Chris. Chris, you can't make me taste Agrax. I'm the one that told everybody not to do it. Just, it's not the way it works. Tell us about your music career, Fox, says Vasily. I didn't have one. I was, for many years, I used to write electronica. I had, since I was about 17, I had a collection of synthesizers and recording equipment. It all kind of started in the mid-80s when I heard... I wasn't into music at all. Just no interest in music of any kind when I was a kid. Just bored. It was like, I don't care. I'm just not interested in that. And then in the mid-80s, I happened to hear Jean-Michel Jarre's Rendezvous. And I'd never heard anything like it. I'm like, wow, what's this? Hello. So I listened to that, and then I kind of got into Jarre a little bit, but it started to tweak a little interest in me. I was thinking, a little bit of an interest. I'm like, okay, I like this music now. And I never considered, doing my own. But then a friend at school went round to his house one day, and he had an older brother who was like a grown-up, who'd bought some old vintage synthesizers, some old analog vintage synths. This was the mid to late 80s, by the way, so they weren't that vintage in those days. They're only about 10 or 15 years old. So he had some old vintage synths, old analog ones. And this was my first experience of like synthesizer. I'm like, oh, what is this? So I'm twiddling the knobs and making the sounds. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And from that point, I was kind of bitten a little bit with the bug. I'm like, this is incredible. These synths are amazing. I can make this noise that sounds like this thing from this Kraftwerk song or whatever. This bit from Tangerine Dream. I can recreate this sound here. So at that point, I was like, I need to get me one of these. So when I was able to afford it, when I left school, before I left school, I managed to lean on my dad and get me a synth. My first ever synth was a Roland D20 multi-timbral synthesizer. It was an early DAC controlled synthesizer. It was the early days of post-analog twiddly knobs. And it was an early multi-timbral synth where it had, instead of just like one waveform, it had like it was 6 or 8 waveforms that you could combine together to make different sounds. Roland D20, and I loved it. And it actually had on board a simple basic sequencer as well, which was, you could do a number. I can't remember how many tracks you could do, but it had like an onboard sequencer, so you could compose tunes, and you'd store them on disk. It had a floppy disk drive. It had a 3.5 inch floppy disk drive on it. So you could store tunes and stuff. So you could actually do a whole piece of music with like 8 or 9 tracks, all sequenced. As long as it could play all the sounds at once, you had to tweak a bit. So yeah, so that was. I taught myself how to program it and how to make the sounds and how to combine waveforms for different effects and all the different things you could do. And I did music at school, but I never really paid attention because our music teacher was kind of crap. We just learnt the history, like music, like in art, you do art and you do art history. You do art, how to do stuff, and you do art history, which nobody cares about, which is boring and nobody likes. Well, in music, you just did music history, and you learned some basic how a musical staff works, and you know we just learned about Beethoven. It was like really, really boring. None of it ever went in. It was rubbish. So I had no official musical training. I couldn't read and write, but I could cobble stuff together on the sequencer on this Roland D20. And that really sparked me. And then over the years, you know, my dad had bought me that. It was brilliant. And I had that for a few years. And then when I left school, I was a working man. I had a job and an income. I could start, you know, saving up and getting myself. Well, I say saving up. I was 19, and I learned about hire purchase and paying things on the tick. And that was it for the next 10 years. You know, you can't talk sense into a to a 20-year-old about, you know, paying for things in the long term on the never. It doesn't work. I was wide-eyed and amazed by that I could afford all these like grown-up synthesizers now. So I just kind of did that. Excuse me. Started doing that and just writing tunes. And at first I was terrible, you know. I was truly awful. As I got older, I learned more and more. I taught myself by just copying the stuff I used to like to listen to, and then use that as a seed. So I'd listen to, you know, I say a Jar track or a Vangelis track, and that would give me the seed. I'd try and reproduce, say, the sound or the pattern of the music or something like that, and that would plant the idea. And then I'd learn that way, and then I'd go off and do my own thing, but with everything that I've learned from the seed of, you know, copying something. And I've said that before about painting and doing models. You know, while you're learning and trying to figure things out, don't compare yourself to other people, but don't be afraid to, you know, listen to, you know, in case of, let's say, drawing, to look at other people's artwork and copy it just to figure out how they've done it. And then once you've figured out how they've done it, go and try it yourself. So I did that for a long, long time, and that was, you know, over the years I got more and more equipment. I had a collection of, over the years, I'd had ownership of some really, really awesome synthesizers and other bits of kit. And I went from writing some really terrible stuff to, you know, getting all right. I think getting all right. Now I have just made my entire collection of music that I wrote. It was always public. I've always made it. Well, it's been a long time. It's public domain, but I posted up a link in the Boom Hut a few days ago. I've basically uploaded all my compositions that are public domain into a Google Drive, and you can go and download them all. Now there's 2 or 3 that aren't actually public domain, so you can't use them in YouTube. You'll get screwed for copyright infringement from Disney or through Polydor. So I wouldn't recommend using them, but they're labelled as not public domain. But everything else on there is my own compositions. If you're a budding YouTuber or you need music for a video production, just download them all, do whatever you want with them. They're in public domain. I don't need to be credited. You don't need to pay me any royalties. There's no costs involved. You can cut them up, you can re-record them, you can do cover versions, you can mix them together and change things around, you can mix 2 pieces together into a different piece. Do what you want with them. The public domain, have at them. I don't know if one of the mods will be really, really handy and nice, and possibly go into the Boom Hut and try and find the link to the Google Drive. It's going to be a few days ago I posted it up there, so it might be a pain in the arse. But if you go in there, there's some folders, and there's a folder called the Blowfish Experiments. Now, if you want to see how I changed over the years, the stuff that was in the Blowfish Experiments was recorded mostly in like the very late 80s, very early 90s, when I was like 19, 20, 21. I was still learning and figuring out. And they're terrible. It's all terrible. It's awful rubbish stuff. It's just nonsense. And then some of the later stuff is what I recorded when I was much older and I'd learned and taught myself many things. I'm not saying I was any good. I still think I was terrible, but you know, I'd learned a lot. I taught myself a lot and learned a lot by then. So we shall see how that comes out in the long run. But yeah, you can see the difference. Like the Blowfish Experiments were just like really, that's old vintage. I was a kid. Right, I need more tissue now. Hang on a minute. But yeah, all my music, I say, is public domain. There's only one track I've not made public domain, and that's Jinxie Tinkle and Mush, which is my theme tune for my videos. That's not public domain. You have no rights to use that, and obviously that would get you a copyright strike. That's why I've not made it available, because it's mine. That's my theme tune. That one, nobody else can use that. But everything else, It's all, use it as you wish. There's no requirement for you to even credit me. Oh yes, oh Dad's put that link in. Thank you very much, Dad. Yes, Chris says don't use K's theme. That's mine. Yeah. Unfortunately, K's theme is a public domain one. It's the one that Chris uses for his videos. The 1980s sounding one. It's called K's theme. So yeah, you can. I haven't put them in chronologically, but I know what the chronological order. But you know, the Blowfish Experiments one, you can't really find a use for that. That is terrible stuff. That was like on an old. I started off when I first started recording music. It was on that D20 in the sequencer, and then just recorded straight to a cassette drive, to cassette recorder. The first multi-track recording I could do was on an old 4-track recorder, but it was a thing about this big, and it was cassette based, so it used a normal audio cassette. Ideally use a chrome cassette or something nice and expensive for the maximum quality, and that was like a 4-track. So I can have 4 tracks and ping pong them around. Captain Nemo's in. Hi Fox, hope you and Mama Fox are good. We are, thank you very much, dude. Thank you very much. Yeah, so started off, so the first recording thing was a 4-track, cassette-based 4-track recorder. Then later on, I saved up enough money, and I got what at the time was, it still wasn't vintage, but it's kind of a classic now. It was a Tascam 388 multi-track studio recorder, and it was basically an 8-track, not an 8-track like the cartridge in a car, not that kind of. It was basically a 1/4-inch reel of tape, 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape recorder that could record 8 tracks, and it had a mixing desk built in, and it weighed about 1/4 of a ton, and it was massive, and it was brilliant. And I used that for quite a while. And that was, again, studio quality recording, but it was already a bit old by that point, so the heads were a bit worn, so it wasn't fully studio quality. But it was better than, you know, recording it on a cassette. That was 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape. And I have to tell you, most of you will never know, but if you actually open a brand new reel-to-reel, 1/4-inch reel-to-reel audio tape, it smells just like caramel. It's an amazing smell. You can't really get them anymore. I used to use Maxell tapes. That was a Tascam 388. That was a beast. Later on, I migrated from that because there were some issues with that, and there only was, for some reason I thought the heads on the recorder were a bit wrong because the drums always seemed a bit left of centre, even when I had them centred, so drum tracks were always a little bit left of centre. But it turned out in the end it was actually my right ear that was a little bit funky. It was not as sensitive to high frequencies, so all those years I'm like, oh, the heads are wrong. No, it's my ear. So I migrated away from that eventually, and I got myself a... hang on, no, I've got it wrong. It was a Fostex... Oh God, I've forgotten now. The Tascam 388 was a digital hard drive 8-track recorder. That's what I migrated to from the reel-to-reel. That was a Tascam 388. It was a Fostex something or other that was the reel-to-reel one. I've forgotten now anyway. They're all numbers. They're all very similar. But yeah, after the reel-to-reel one, which lasted me for years, I got myself a proper digital hard drive based 8-track recorder. Now, bearing in mind, this thing cost me just shy of about $1,500, and it came with a, how big was the disk drive? I think it was 500 meg hard drive, which could record about 45 minutes, 8 tracks, full stereo CD quality, 44 kilohertz audio. 45 minutes of 8 tracks, you know, in total. And that was $1.5 grand, $2 or something. That was proper cutting edge studio equipment at that point. It wasn't quite fully studio, because the real one, the full one was like 16 track and 32 track. Mine was an 8 track. But yeah, that was hardcore shizzle, that was. And then that was the final thing I used to use, because that lasted me for years then, that. And that was proper broadcast quality, studio quality, no quality issues when transferring and bouncing tracks around. It was just purely digital. That lasted me for years. And then eventually, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was setting up all this lot for the model making, I hadn't actually done anything for a long time, because the problem was I used to listen to electronica and stuff, Vangelis and Jar and Tangerine Dream and all that kind of stuff for many years, and that inspired me all the time. However, partway through the 90s, I started getting into orchestral movie soundtracks and orchestral soundtracks and stuff. And it was the 1989 Batman soundtrack that did that for me, because that was so good. And then Jurassic Park. I started getting into soundtracks and orchestral stuff. And then I got onto a kick of trying to recreate the orchestral sound with the synthesizers and samplers that I had. And it was terrible. But it kind of killed my ability to think like in terms of interesting tunes and sounds. And I got caught up on that realistic orchestral sound, and that just ruined it. My thinking and my sort of ability to come up with tunes just kind of faded away at that point. So towards the end, I hadn't done any proper recordings in years. So by the end of it, about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was setting this up, Dave says, trying to find the link in the boom hut. It's already been posted. Dad posted it. Yeah, Dad posted it. It's drive.google.com/drive/folder/something. It's in the chat there. Dad posted it up. Thank you, Dad. So yeah, that I hadn't recorded anything for many years. There is a track on there called Kleiner Bear, which is Little Bear in German, and I think that was the last thing I ever recorded. That was like late. That was like 2008 or 2009. That was just a silly fun piece. That was the last thing I ever recorded. No, I tell a lie. The last thing I ever recorded was my cover version of Magnetic Fields, Part 1, which wasn't brilliant, but it was alright. And I just made the decision I needed the space to do this model making. I thought, well, so I sold all my equipment, basically. Sold all the 8-track and all the synthesizers and all the recording effects boxes, and I had a DAT recorder and loads of other bits and bobs, all mixers and stuff. Yeah, they all got sold off in the end. It just the creativity, the ability just left me. It does sometimes. Right, let's have a quick swig of coffee. What time are we on? 25 to 6. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Yeah, so all my music is available. All save Jinxie Tinkle and Mush is public domain, totally available. That link that Dad put in the chat, go up a little bit. They're uploaded, and use them however you wish. There's a load of Brandenburg concertos in there that are truly terrible as well. I had a couple of Moogs, and I had access to a big modular Moog, and it's awful. But if you can find a use for them, feel free. You can chop them about, you can remix them, you can do whatever. You don't even need to credit me. Let's have a look. Very quickly finish. Robert Powell is in. Welcome, Robert. Right at the end there. It's just started painting my Star Wars Legion droids. Thank you for all you do, Mr. Fox. You are more than welcome. Thank you very much. I'm glad my stuff is helping. Butcher That Model says, I don't know what the fuss is about with brush licking Agrax. It tastes like chicken and mushroom pot noodle to me. 1, you've clearly never had a chicken and mushroom pot noodle. And 2, I'm not going to fall for it because I know what it tastes like. I'm not an idiot. Vasily says, can you imagine square waving with a guitar keyboard with Duran Duran in the background? I nearly bought an SH01 keyboard, which is a keytar. It wasn't designed as a keytar. It was designed as a little portable keyboard. I nearly bought one of those, a little monophonic Roland SH01, because I was convinced that was the synth that Jar used on Magnetic Fields for the bit with the twinkly water sounds and the little bass, the sort of bassy lead. I did actually own a keytar at one point, which is basically a keyboard with a guitar strap, and it's got the keys that you play, and then the long neck with the slide bar and stuff. I actually had a keytar, but it never actually worked. I bought it and it didn't work, and I couldn't get it fixed, and then I sold it on. So I actually did own a keytar at one point. Please don't mention floppy disks. I feel ancient now, says Jordan Capuano. Yeah. I've still got on the discs that I've got, because the D20 that came with a disk drive just for saving your sequence. That just saved the MIDI sequences. But then later on, I had a Roland W30, which was one of the first sort of budget public level sampling synthesizer. That had a sequencer on it as well. Had a proper sequencer, and it could do sampling. So that had a 3.5-inch disk drive as well. So I've got loads of discs. Still got them, all the samples and stuff. I actually have samples of my dad, which is a shame because, you know, he died sort of 20 years ago. But the only recordings of my dad, I save a handful of them on floppy disk somewhere, and nowhere to play them back. Shame. Actually, there are ways you can do it online, software. Diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo, do-do-do. I remember when WordPerfect came on like 25 3.5-inch discs, as Paul Di Tommaso. Spid says, Arnold Schwarzenegger always thought Beethoven was rubbish. He always wanted to be back. Yeah, I see what he did there. David Butcher, that model, says, I always credit you. It's the nicest thing to do. Thank you very much. You can do if you want. With public domain recordings, you can credit me if you want, but you don't have to. Basically, when I put music in public domain, what it's saying is I give up all the rights to this music. It means that you can put all my music on a CD and sell it. It's fine. I can't do anything about it. It's public domain. You can do with it as you wish. You can use it in video production. You can use it anywhere you want. Dad says he's going to use Kay's theme now that Chris said don't use it. Mordraka says, cool, so now I have some music for the game I'm working on to work with. Yep, you can use it in the game if you want. It's absolutely, if it's any good, I don't know. Feel free. Very eclectic. I'm going to nick it, says George, about Kay's theme. Let's have a look. Totally Scale Models is in. Welcome, Steve. Gross Models, I'm off though now. Oh, hang on, it moved. Chris says, I'm off now though. Have a good night, everyone. Yep, thank you very much for coming in, Chris. Don't forget, Chris isn't doing a Warhamster tonight. There's no Warhamster show tonight, if I remember rightly. I hope there isn't, because I just said there isn't. He's having a week off this week because he's been out all weekend playing with monkeys. Monkey. So he's not doing a Warhamster show tonight. So there's no show at 8 p.m. We normally do one at 8 p.m, but he's not doing one today. Oh, he said that. I don't have a Warhamster tonight. Well, thank you for coming in, buddy. How big is that Space Marine? He is... He's bigger than a rice. His head's not on properly. He's that big compared to... Hang on. He's about... that big. There you go. He's knee-high. His knees are about the same height, but... yeah, he's that big. Just a Funko Pop. Available from all good Goblin game stores in the US, in the UK and EU, or Games Workshop if you're outside the EU. I'm supposed to be painting an angry marine, but he's not got very far. I saw Jean-Michel Jarre at Docklands. It was an awesome show. Says, I'll say all that again. I saw Jean-Michel Jarre at Docklands. It was an awesome show, says Captain Nemo. It was an awesome show, but unfortunately, after Rendezvous, like Oxygen, Equinox, Magnetic Fields, Zuluk, Music for Supermarkets, Rendezvous, all fantastic atmospheric albums. Then you had Revolutions. Oh, that was not. Oh, it was not. No, and then you had the one with Calypso and the Waiting for Cousteau. No, Waiting for Cousteau was a little bit better, but then it was Revolutions. Oh, that was bad. Oh, it was bad. I mean, the problem for me was I had a load of synthesizers that, when it was analog synthesizers, you could admire his creativity. But when it got to like DAC-controlled synthesizers and pulse code modulation synths and things where you didn't actually have a waveform, you had a sample of a waveform that used to, like Yamahas and Rolands, getting a bit too deep there. You'd find that a lot of artists would just use preset built-in sounds or adjust them slightly, and you'd be like, oh, that's this sound off that synth, and that's this sound off that synth. And that's the drum from this synth. And it'd be like, oh, I recognise that now. There was a load of Korg synths that came out. I can't remember which one it was now. There was a Korg synth, and it was massive, and it was this huge synth, and it had some great sounds. One of them was like a sort of metallic sound, like you'd hit a metal bar with a piece of metal. And that suddenly started appearing everywhere, and it was like, oh, I can't not hear it because I know the synth and I know the sound, and now I can hold all these different sounds. Oh, it was terrible. It was like the DX range of Yamaha synths when they first came out. They were amazing, and then you heard them everywhere. And then PCs got sound cards, and then it just became terrible. So yeah. So anything after Rendezvous was pretty much gash. And I got Revolutions. It was terrible. I got Waiting for Cousteau. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't brilliant. After that though, I just fell off. And then a few years later, I got one of his albums. I got the Oxygen 13 to whatever it was, like the sequel to Oxygen. And it was like, oh, it's just really bad club music now. It's just gone. Everything after Rendezvous was just terrible. Terrible, terrible. And Vangelis was the same. Vangelis was amazing. Up until, like, analog synths stopped being the thing and it came to more digital synths, and then you had things like The City, which was alright. It was a good album, Vangelis on The City, but then after that it was like, oh no, it didn't end well. So yeah. But I saw Jarre at Old Trafford. for the Swatch tour when it was all... Chronology, that was the other album that was terrible. Yeah, Chronology. Well, Chronology was a little bit better, but it still wasn't brilliant. The laser show was the best bit. X-Wing is where I started. Oh, people are talking about like Legion and X-Wing, the tabletop games. Right, we've got a quarter of an hour. I don't think I'm going to get more dry brushing done in 15 minutes that's going to look any different, but you can start to see now. This is just the base coat still. So we've got... I can't actually fit the head on there. Oh. So we've got a little bit of the shading coming on. When you see it on screen, it looks a lot more orangey than it actually is in real life. It's just a very like warm peanut. It's like a kind of peanut butter orangey yellow. It's not quite as yellowy orange as you're seeing it there. But hopefully you can see on the head now we've got a bit of fading and shading. It's not all the big splatchy marks. It's still patchy in places. Like there, you can see there's some patchiness. And there's little bits of patches here, but that's fine. There's a little bit of visible waterline there where the shade was. That's fine because we've got chipping to do. We've got 2 more highlight dry brush coats to do. We've got chipping, we've got some markings, we've got all kinds of bits and bobs. There's loads on here that will then break it up. So this first few steps, it always looks a bit rubbish. And I always say, whether you're drawing or painting or building a model and painting a model, don't lose heart if for the first few steps it looks like absolute bish, because it always will. It's only when you get the last few things done that it all starts to come together and you go, and it all suddenly gels together. So the first few steps, don't panic, it always will look terrible. See, it looks like you can compare to the body now. You can see that's kind of patchy and horrible and blotchy. This is looking much more smooth and round and earthy. But again, we've still got two lighter colours. We've still got the Uriel yellow and the Phalanx yellow to come yet. So plenty more to do, and then chipping and stuff on top. And I don't know yet, but I might do a Borderlands outline on him. I don't know yet. We'll see. But we'll carry on with that next week. I'm enjoying this. We'll carry on with that next week. But that's going to do us for today. I'll have a quick last look at the chat. I'll just try and get the lid on that properly. Quick last look at the chat. Yeah, for Jar, if you want to like experience his best concert, just watch Rendezvous Houston. That was an amazing concert. Rendezvous, I think, is Jar's best album. But my favourite album would have to be Magnetic Fields. I don't know why, it just is. Just Magnetic Fields is like, it's so crisp and clean. And if you can find music for Supermarket, if you can find a recording, when I first got the internet in the early 2000s, late 1990s, you could not find a copy of music for Supermarkets anywhere. If you don't know the legend, he recorded an entire album. He pressed one LP. It's an old vinyl record, for those of you who don't know. He pressed one LP. He auctioned it on the steps of somewhere or other in France. He auctioned it live. And then he allowed it to be played on the radio once. On Radio France, he played it once. They played the record, and he said, as they were about to play, he said, "This is now," along the lines of, "This is now going to be played on the radio once and once only. Pirate it." And then they played the album, and that was it. It was never played again. It was auctioned off, and some guy bought it, and it went into a collection, and nobody's ever heard. In fact, nobody, apart from like the people in the studio that recorded it with him, nobody, and the person that bought it, nobody's ever heard it properly in stereo because it was broadcast over AM radio. So late 90s on the internet, couldn't find it anyway. It was a legendary thing. However, if you go and look it up now, there's people all over the place with like, you know, they've taken it off cassette and they've remastered it a bit to clean it up, and they've given it pseudo stereo looks, so you can find it now. And there's even a guy on YouTube who does cover versions, and he does incredible cover versions of it. He's done a few of the tracks and they're amazing. They're obviously fully stereo, but he does amazing cover versions. But you know, back in the day it was legendary. I managed to get a copy of it, and it was like, wow, I've got music for Supermarkets. And you think, oh, it's mostly Zuluk. Yeah, a lot of Zuluk was just music for Supermarkets re-recorded and a bit better. So there you go. So yeah, Magnetic Fields is my favourite. If it's here's an advice. Do this, right? Do this and you'll be happy forever. Hot summer day, if you want to be awesome, on a hot summer's day, get in the car, get all the windows down. If it's a soft top car, even better, get the roof down, get all the windows down, get the stereo on, and play Magnetic Fields Part 1 very, very loud. And as you're driving along, it just makes you feel like, oh yeah, everything's brilliant. Today is a beautiful sunny day. It's warm, the sun, blue sky, everything's fantastic. I'm brilliant. This is brilliant. Everybody's awesome. I love everything. It's just great. It's just a real motivational track. Anyway, yes. Right, Right, well, I think that's going to do us anyway. It's 10 to 6 now, and I need to go and start preparing haggis and chips and gravy and to put in my face, and sausages. Oh, yes. I want to very quickly thank everybody who's watched. Thank you very much. We'll carry on with this again next week with more of the post-shading effects. He will look like an angry marine. And just to remind you, anybody who was late, just remind you, this is the colour scheme we're going for. Yes, there are rude words. There are rude words. It's an angry marine. Yeah, there will be rude words. I'm probably killing me monetization with this, but never mind. So there are rude words. We're going to try and get that. It's obviously very orangey now, but we've got these colours to come yet, so don't worry about that. Well, thank you very much for watching. As I say, there is no Gross Models Warhamster Tonight show tonight at 8 PM, so you get a night off. I will be back tomorrow on the eModels YouTube channel for the eModels Monday night show with Chris and Ted, so make sure to watch that. I will be back again, obviously, next Sunday with Warhammer Sunday. I'm partway through working on the third episode of the Sazabi build. Now, if you're not aware, that is a Patreon exclusive build series. You have to be a patron to watch the full episodes, but I will see if I can cobble together a quick, 2 or 3 minute diary video for non-patrons. But I'm working on that at the moment, so I'm partway through editing that. So do make sure, if you're a patron, that you watch that. You're the only people that can watch it. If you want to help support me on Patreon, you can do patreon.com/model making guru. You get rewards such as access to Patreon exclusive stuff, and non-exclusive stuff you get to watch a week in advance with no adverts. So there you go. Don't forget, of course, as I said before, this show is supported by Goblin Gaming. Link in the description below this video to save yourself not only 20% off Warhammer and Games Workshop, Conflict 47 and Malifaux, you can save yourself massively on loads of other stuff as well. And if you use the link in the description below the video, you help me out because it's an affiliate link. I make a little bit of income on those every time you place an order. So use that link below. It really helps me out. But that's going to do us. So I hope you've had a good time today. I've had a good time painting this. I'm looking forward to next week. I really am not organised. We'll do random things each week. I don't know. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Do take care of yourselves. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening / afternoon / morning, depending on where you are. Nim, obviously, you'll be awake by now. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, Nim. But I shall see you later in the week. But until next time, I shall say, go make something awesome like this. Go be awesome. And until next time, Ghost Lyle's just turned up. Hey, Ghost Lyle. Pineapple, 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 he says. Pineapple, 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 pineapple. Don't time that really well. Well, Gemma, thank you very much for being Gemma. Gemma Williams as well, who's now told Chris to go off and make the dinner, I guess. Chris is off making the dinner. So, yay. Anyway. Yes, I shall go. So thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. This. Go be awesome. You there. Go be awesome. And I shall say until next time, adios amoebas. Where's the camera? I moved the camera in and I forgot. Adios amoebas. Wait, that didn't work. That went wrong. Something weird. I'll try that again. Adios amoebas. There's something amiss here. Something very strange. I'll try again. Holy. Right. See you next week. Bye.